YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. 1.5 meter. Turbo Timber Evolution. We're gonna fly this thing. This is our third or fourth flight. We've done some adjustments to our settings. We've gone to the inside hole on the elevator and the rudder. We've mechanically centered the rudder and elevator. We've also changed basically the CG back a little bit. One of the best features on this new plane. If you haven't already seen this, this might be the first time you're seeing this. Move that back just a hair. This thing does great. You'll notice the top access. Okay, so that's pretty sweet. Now watch this. Forward. Oh, and then there's that too, which is always handy when you need to taxi out to the runway. Guys, this thing is really good, just like before. And just to show you, okay, so this is a STOL plane, short takeoff or landing. Out of the flaps. Guys, this is what I'm talking about. That's what you call unlimited vertical. It's still going. Okay, here we go. You'll notice the prop is braking right now. Look at those beautiful lights. This plane is really fun to fly. It's just every bit as good as its predecessors, and even better. You can fly in tight quarters, you can fly in big quarters. It does everything you want it to, and then more. Look at that thing slow down. Look at that beautiful sunset.
It's so good.
Look at the high alpha. She'll hammerhead. Without too much trouble. Try not to gain altitude. Guys, I'm not a 3D pilot, folks. Look at this. I just love flying. It's really fun. It's definitely a lot less challenging to fly than its new big brother, the Draco. High-speed pass for you. Now this plane is equipped with smart ESC and smart receiver AR637TA because it's a binding fly. But as you know, it also has the avian receiver. We've already talked about that a little bit. Takeoff flaps, landing flaps. Let's slow it down a little bit for you. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna show you. First of all, you can slow this thing down to a dead stop, basically. But even if you don't want to do that, if you want to slow it down even faster, that's full reverse thrust. Airborne.
How do you not have a heart attack every time you do that?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm getting more used to it.
Oh, I'm not.
Full landing flaps here. We're going to kit the reverse thrust on, but not give it any juice. You can stop on a dime, but you do have to kind of give it a second. It takes just a second to go. This plane is super easy to fly, folks. I love flying it. It's definitely acceptable as a second or third plane if you want. The extra elevator throws really open up the flight envelope, in my opinion. Little cornholes there for you. I just want you guys to know this plane is not just another timber. It is replacing the turbo timber that's currently available. So it's not like there's going to be another one. This is just replacing the one that was out of stock. The reason that this is getting released a little bit earlier than typical on the pre-release videos is because the other ones are gone. They are out. So if you guys were hoping to get the blue and white one, I'm sorry to report to you, you'll be ordering this red one now. And by the way, I love the way it looks. I think it looks great. The landing gear that you've come to expect, nice and sturdy.
And by sorry, we mean not sorry at all, because this one's super cool.
This plane is awesome. But hey, everybody has favorites. If you want a blue one, you could probably still get one at a local hobby shop for a little bit, because there's probably a few of them here on the shelf once in a while. But people have been asking, and that's why Horizon's having us do this video early. So you see what I'm talking about? It takes a second to get from even at idle, okay? So here's full throttle. Well, not full throttle. Here's out of throttle. See, it takes a second. So you have to be prepared for that. So if you're really wanting to get on that throttle when you touch down, I'll show you. You got to plan ahead a little bit. About 50% throttle there. Do me a favor too, guys. When you get ready to, man, it must be windy over there. Did you see it walking around?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go over there. Let's find the bolt for a minute.
Okay.
When you're done with your maiden flight, wiggle the motor and see if it comes loose, because I had to tighten my bolts. Not a big deal. It was like a 2-minute thing. It's very serviceable. I basically took off the cowling. It takes 2 screws to do that. Okay, here we go. Okay, into the reverse. And it's not like I'm trying to stop on a dime. Like, I just want you to know that it's there. But it does take a second for it to switch. So be aware of it, please. What a beautiful night, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's turbulent in the bowl right now.
It is.
Look at that thing getting flipped around. And by the way, one of the best things about the turbo timber is that it doesn't have to be perfect conditions to fly. We have probably a 10-mile-an-hour wind coming over our shoulders right now toward the plane. We're flying into the wind right now. Here, let's do some upside down flight performance for you. Whoops. Suppose we should probably keep flying upside down. So those leading edge slats historically have not been great for upside down flight performance. I feel like the flight performance is pretty good upside down, given that they are present on this plane. Now, they are optional too. So if you decide you don't want to have them, that's no big deal. You just don't install them. They are optional. You do have to install them. It's not a big deal. You just use a little bit of CA. Ample, I've got about 50% up elevator, 60% up elevator, and about 50% throttle to keep it going. As you can see, it does just fine. Now we'll come out of that inside out, which is pretty cool. You got plenty of power for that. I flew this also on 2200 4S. Counting down. Safe's on. I suppose we should probably show safe. As you can see, safe is on. It's got a little bit of a down nose out attitude, I've noticed. And I've seen that before on a couple of different planes. Notice your limited bank angles. That's rudder and a little bit of an aileron. That's about 50% aileron, about 50% rudder. It's keeping it nice and level for me. About 70% throttle there. Getting the ailerons and elevator down to the bottom right stick. That's full input there. Stays out of the trouble though, okay? So we're in safe right now. Takeoff flaps, landing flaps here just to show you what happens. Seems like the elevator correction's a little bit weird and safe. Definitely catching the wind off the edge of the driveway here. The bowl is always a challenging place with safe because you may need a little bit more input than you're gonna get. And yes, you can use reverse thrust when in safe, I believe. Let's go up here and show the people at home. Okay, going up a few mistakes high, still in safe. As you can see, I'm just kind of pointing the rudder. Not even looking, not looking. That's what safe does. Okay, so I'm gonna go point it to the wind, reverse thrust. Yep. That is so weird. Oh, that is so weird. Okay, out of safe, can't handle it anymore. Just, this plane screams for not being in safe, even though you can totally do it. Vampire killing zone there. Full landing flaps coming out. That's why you gotta be careful about reverse thrust, folks. Okay, so let's go ahead and take off from the bumpy grass here. No problem at all. Oh, by the way, we're on borrowed time if you haven't figured out yet. Borrowed time meaning that my timer is 1:51 past on a 7-minute timer. 3200 4S, Gen 1 30C. Absolutely no problems at this point in the flight. The last flight, I got it down to 7% battery life. We have a sunny flight that will be either before or after this. You might be watching this as a second video, second flight, or the first flight, not sure. Definitely more impressive on the Draco. I feel like this prop is a little bit less efficient in terms of reverse thrust. Guys, I love the way this plane flies. The 4S gets it up and gets it doing whatever you want right now. Oop, there we are, we're out of power. Okay, so nice landing. We're 2 minutes 52, 55 past our 7, so that's almost 10 minutes. So let's walk over here and look at the safe. Yeah, see, it's still telling us we got a little bit left. 3.7 though. Yeah, that's pretty low. All right, let's just, for fun, let's just taxi it around. Okay, so I'm gonna take off from here. Beautiful look. Love the more modern looking paint job on this thing. Looks more realistic, more general aviation and less RC kind of layout. Still has a tendency to kind of get stuck on stuff with that tail dragger, so just be real gentle with it. Don't lead into big bumps. That's how I broke my Draco landing gear. And it's no problem, it's all fixed now. It took me like 10 minutes to fix, but I love this plane, guys. It's a really good plane. I think what we're gonna do is we got enough time. We'll go ahead and throw in a 2200 milliamp, and we'll show you what that looks like, camera crew, if you don't mind. Okay, so let's show you how hard it is to load this battery. Also, we go over this. The manual that we had did not show how to set up the reverse thrust. It was not set up out of box. We had to do it. This does not work if it's still plugged in right now. You have to do it within about the first 30 seconds or so of powering it up. We show the entire process. Watch the radio setup. If you've not done it before, we'll show you exactly how to do it. So that'll be at the very end of this video.
The lights are really good.
By the way, this motor gets hot. Okay? So just check it, make sure it's not wiggling. It's not wiggling, we're good. I flew this earlier on a 2200 as well, and I was very happy with the way it performed. I felt like it actually performed better. I enjoyed it. It was a shorter flight, and you better not push it, because 7 minutes and you'll basically be out of power. I got my critically low voltage alarm on all the packs I've done, except for this one, okay?
Yeah.
So here, camera crew, can you take that one?
Yeah.
So I don't know if when you're setting up your Avian ESC, if you want to set the alarm a little bit higher than what I did, you might think about it, because it'd be good to get that critically low alarm a little bit earlier. I think it's going to potentially save. That was this Gen 2 2200 4S. I'm just going to plop this in here and actually mimic real similar to what we did before. And you're like, but Brian, won't that make the CG wrong? Yeah, I don't know. We'll test it. This is about where I flew it the first time, and I was real happy with the way it performed. I'm not happy about these straps. These are kind of the light duty straps, but honestly, it's so easy to get in here now. It's kind of like a non-issue. The original timber, absolutely the worst part of it was telling me it's not charged. Let's see what it says now. Yeah, it's charged 4.2. So we're good. Sometimes the Avian ESC will not get the telemetry data in time, and so you'll actually get the voltage from a partially plugged in battery. And when that happens, just clear the alarm by hitting the cancel button. Sometimes you got to do it twice, and then it should initiate properly. And if it keeps giving you problems, unplug the pack, plug it back in. I've only had to do the clear a couple of times. All right, so 2200, 7-minute timer. Throttle hold is tested. Let's show where the marks are. Right here. I want to see how that looks. See? Very forgiving on the CG. So should be no problems. Guys, a single, it does come with floats, by the way, if you're into flying on floats. If we had a waterway here, a big enough waterway, we would totally show it, but we don't yet. Maybe someday. Okay, so the real STOL performance coming now. Ready? That is amazing. Just love it. Sorry, camera crew. Please hug the camera. One thing I can say about this plane is you will want to do this the whole time you've got it. Just flying like a crazy person because it just flies so good like a crazy person. You don't have to fly it that way. You can cruise around at 20% throttle in a high alpha configuration all day long. This thing has no bad habits. When it goes to bite you, you just give it a little throttle and it's fine. And everybody's friends again. You can go around and safe all day long if you want. You go around hammerheading, it doesn't matter. If you set your elevator and rudder to the inside hole instead of the outside hole like is recommended in the manual, you will have way more elevator authority, way more elevator and rudder. And you'll be able to do whatever you want, whenever you want, right now, at full throttle or out of the throttle. Look at that thing. Oh, and by the way, I was going to tell you this too. I set up one of my expos. I got the expo to where I wanted, which was actually pretty low. And then I set up a crazy expo, which is what I'm in now. I just turned it on. And it makes it so much easier when you're trying to do crazy like 3D maneuvering. Like when you're trying to hammerhead, it just gets things where they need to be quicker and easier so that you're not constantly reaching all the way to the extent of the sticks. But I don't like the way that it flies when it's set up in that manner as much as I do with my normal expo configuration. It's just something I turn on when I'm trying to do hammerheading or this sort of thing. All right, so I'm back into my regular flight mode. When I say flight mode, I shouldn't have used that terminology. I'm back in my regular dual rates and expo, going between those. Let's go toward the boiler. Guys, what more can I say about the timber? It's great. It's a great plane. If you haven't ever experienced the timber, first of all, it's awesome. You won't regret it, okay? It's one of the best planes that's out there. If you're a new pilot and you want a performance upgrade from the Aero Scout or the Carbon Cub S2 or the Apprentice 1.5 or the Apprentice 1.2, Apprentice 2 as they're calling it, all those planes are really exceptional learning. A Sport Cub SUMX, all those are excellent planes, guys. This plane is way more excellent. It's way more excellent. You're gonna get a lot more flying performance out of it. Got good lights on it. It comes pretty much out of the box, ready to rock and roll with the exception of the reverse thrust. I don't know if the new ones are gonna come with it on. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and land. Okay, over the Vampire Killing Zone, a little bit of slip there with the rudder. Right in the grass. All right, throttle holds on. We're 3 minutes from timer, but this is the 2200. .8, okay. Guys, I love the way this plane flies. If you haven't had one before, you may need to seriously consider this one. I know some of you are probably thinking to yourself, well, but Brian, it's just another timber. Yeah, it's another timber, but it's a really, really good timber. And to be honest with you, the timbers have always been great. They've always been excellent planes. And I'm just noticing that I was feeling like it was a little weak on power. I don't know if you could tell from my landing.
Yeah, a little bit.
I didn't have power, not like I wanted. Could also be that things are getting really hot in there. Let's show them some taxiing on the rough land. This is rough. We're trying to get the grass to come in. This here is grass that's more like manicured, which is really nice. That'd be similar to your flight field. It was cut yesterday, believe it or not. I want to see if it'll take off. Let's try it.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's got power. So the test of the day is to give it throttle for about 10 seconds. If it doesn't sag, then you're fine. I think sometimes when you're really mean to these ESCs with the Smart Pack, the Smart Packs are so good. The Smart Packs are so good to us anymore. You want to know what I did there? I grabbed my reverse thrust instead of my flaps.
Oh.
And so I thought my power was dead. So I'm gonna go pause it and grab it from the tall grass. Okay, so yeah, note to self, be careful if you're used to your flaps being on the B switch, be careful you don't accidentally grab the A switch and put your thrust reverser on halfway through. That was the noise you heard. And so I said, huh, is this dead? By the time I connected the dots, I was like, tall grass is a good place to go. So all is well, everything's working fine. All the control channels are working perfect. So basically at this point, man, I want to fly some more for him just to prove that it's working fine. Here, let's do that.
We just go grab my battery.
No, I want them to see it's working.
Oh.
So this is the same pack, guys. It was just a Brian Phillips maneuver. Okay, full landing flaps here. And then reverse thrust is ready.
Cool.
So I would say at this point, we have fully vetted this thing. It is a great plane. I would highly recommend that you consider it. The Smart Pack, if you have a 2200 4S, throttle cuts on and tested. If you haven't ever experienced the timber, this thing doesn't fall short in any of the categories that we've always expected out of the timbers. I love the way that it loads from the top now. Obviously a water plane, it should have never loaded from the bottom, which everybody knows that, including E-flite of it, evidently, since they put it on top. The leading edge slats, I would recommend putting them on myself because I do a lot of the stole flying. But if you wanted to leave them off, it's very easy. It comes with little red and white stickers to cover up the little foam covers on the slots. So it's super easy. It takes about 2 minutes to put these things in. Assembly is a lot easier. Disassembly is a lot easier for this wing. There's quick disconnects for the left and right wing. So they're molded and they have all 6 connectors. So you don't have to do 4 wires. Now it's just 1 plug on the left, 1 plug on the right. It's very easy to line them up. Very obvious. And the cable management is pretty good too. The cable management below was kind of messy, as you can see, but the wing itself is good. I don't like that the antenna goes across here. That's a bad place for the antenna for a variety of reasons. That was weird.
A bird was...
That sounded like something was going with the plane, but that was a bird, right?
Yeah, it was a bird.
Jeez, it sounded like one of our motor farts.
Oh.
So anyway, guys, all I can say is if you haven't gotten a plane like this, this is seriously needs to be on your short list. You know, if you're in the market for a Draco, but it's just like too much money for you to part with, I completely get it. It's you know, it's 600 bucks. So for less than half the price, you can be into this thing. You're flying a lot cheaper packs. I mean, literally, you're talking way less than half the price just to get in the air, okay? And this thing is gonna give you a very good flight experience. Now, I'm not trying to beat up the Draco at all because I love the Draco. The Draco is awesome. But we all kind of know that $600 is the upper echelon of E-flite's lineup. You're not gonna get a lot more expensive than 600 bucks in an E-flite plug and fly plane. So apples to apples, not really, but at the same time, apples to apples for flight performance. This might actually edge out the Draco just slightly because it's so easy to fly. It's so forgiving. You still have the reverse thrust, which is awesome. You've got a big wide range of battery packs that you can use. So it's really good in that way. Now, where the Draco really beats its pants off, is looks. The Draco is beautiful. However looks, you know, it's highly subjective. But in terms of flight performance, this one's lighter, that one's heavier. This one is much more attainable, that one's less attainable. It's also a 2-meter wing, okay? This is a 1.5 meter wing. So I'm 6 foot tall, so it's gonna be my entire body height high. The Draco comes apart much easier. It's got the integral plugs, so if you have to take it apart to move it in your car, the Draco might actually be easier to transport very, very slightly than the Turbo Timber 1.5. Evo. Okay, 2 screws, 2 plugs, toolless plugs, and you've got the whole wing off, okay? This thing does sit tall, but the wing is a little bit wider so it doesn't go between the landing gear. In the Draco, you can take a wing off and slide it under its own landing gear because they sit wider apart. In terms of ground ops, this thing does really, really nice in grass. It does really nice on pavement. It does really nice in tall grass, but there are gonna be limits. There's a lot of prop clearance here. Might be slightly better, slightly edge out the prop clearance to overall height ratio on the Draco. So just side-by-side comparison, which isn't really fair because they're in different price ranges. I feel like they're so similar that if you're looking for the Draco experience without the Draco budget, this is a great place to start. If you're, on the other hand, a new pilot and you're really wanting to get to the Draco eventually, this would be an amazing middle step, okay guys? Awesome plane for that. It's gonna get you where you need to be. If you can fly this and you're consistently out of safe, there's absolutely no reason you can't fly the Draco. Now, you don't have to throw a reverse thrust on every time you land. That's just something that I like to do. It's fun. I feel like the reverse thrust is a little bit more Johnny on the spot with the Draco. I don't know why that is. I believe it's exactly the same configuration, just bigger ESC, bigger motor on the Draco. And by the way, this motor is still pretty big, but the Draco motor, it's about 4 times bigger. So it's huge. I mean, it's like the size of your fist. So lots of things to consider. Guys, love the new livery. The tail wheel seems to be holding up nicely. I think they improved that a little bit. Obviously the floats look to be exactly the same as what they were previously. I haven't done a float flight for you guys in a while. This thing would look really nice with the white floats because it just matches all the colors really good. I just feel like the blue kind of disappears in the sky a little bit. Although the main color on the turbo timber previously was white and it was like splashes of blue. Okay, so I love that this is red all the way down the side. That helps a lot with visibility. Visibility at night, still lacking on this would be a tail light. I added a tail light to my turbo timber and I added lights to my original Timber 1.5. I always felt like the tail light made a huge difference because you could tell when it was going away, you could tell when it was coming towards you. Really easy without having to depend on the right, red is right returning sort of concept, because these wings are so thick that they do tend to block 1/2 of the configuration when it's coming at you. If you get that third light, you almost never have an angle where you can't tell what direction you're going. Any other thoughts, camera crew? That was a lot.
I know, it's really cool, but I think that's a good plane.
I think it looks more scale.
Yeah.
Than the previous turbo timber, and for me, I really like that. Some of you guys, you know, maybe you don't care. I do. I would love to see glass windows in the thing, but at the same time, there's a lot going on in there, so it's never going to really look like inside of a cabin of an airplane. And to be honest, if you can save weight, that's a good place to save it. Plus, a lot of times you end up getting thin plastics, not very strong. Again, on the Draco, it's thick, it's heavy, it's strong, it does its job. You can pick it up there. Oh, this thing's easier to pick up by far than the Draco too.
Yeah.
Because there's like nowhere on the Draco to pick it up. You have to like kind of go in and undergird it from the middle between the wheels. And this thing you can pick up right here, and it's strong. Okay, just don't accidentally grab it by the canopy and have that come off on you. Okay, so I added this piece of tape. That was a definite good call. You'll want to do that yourself. We do that in the build video, super easy. And other than that, just love it, guys. Come back for more. If you haven't already, don't forget to click the like. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. We just hit 100,000, so we're really proud of that accomplishment. We couldn't have done it without you guys. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We're gonna give you guys another flight, and then after the other flight, or you've already seen the flight, then we'll have the unbox, build, and radio setup. We'll show you the tips and tricks on how to set up the Avian ESC for thrust reverse. And if you think about it, if you want to help support us further, check the link, buy it for yourself there. We'll link to the plane, we'll link to the batteries we use, which is 3200 4S. If they have a Gen 2, I'll link to the Gen 2, so you've got it. And then we also use the 2200 4S. Remember, if you're gonna fly on 2200 4S, take your 7-minute timer. I would kick it back to like 5. If you're flying on 3200, you can kick it almost out to 10 if you're not being nice at all. Our first flight, we flew for almost 19 minutes. So, well, I mean 19 total minutes. But But I would say that for practical purposes, 15 minutes is about where you want to be. If you go any further, you're just asking for trouble. So that's it. That's all I got to say. Thing's awesome. Go get one. Come back for more. YouTube, it's Rtl. We've got the Timber 1.5 Evolution. Yes, you heard me right. The Timber Evolution. This is the new 1.5 meter timber offering. I want to show you one thing before we get started. It is the solution to the biggest problem on this plane, which is hilarious because there really wasn't too many problems on the Timber, but that's the biggest one. Everybody hated putting the batteries in on the old one. Now we have that. Okay, so without further ado, there's also one other cool detail. Okay. Yeah, that's 20% throttle, by the way. You guys may have remembered something like this from another competitive plane, or not competitive, called the Draco. That's our maiden takeoff out of the flaps. Oh yeah, she flies good. She flies very good. I just need some trim on the elevator because I'm kind of riding it right now. I had a lot of adjustment there. Oh man. See the braking?
Mm-hmm.
Takeoff flaps. Landing flaps. See how we can slow it down here. Oh yeah, he slows down nicely. All right, so now that we have that kind of worked out, there is full safe on this. Safe select rather, I should say. Still need just a hair more trim. This is the true Maiden, folks. Just to show you, we're in tight quarters here. That's about 100 foot by 100 foot square that I'm flying in right now. Or 100 by 50, I would say. And look at this thing, I'm at 30% throttle here, folks. This thing is powerful. Okay, just to show you it can be done. Cornhole it. Let's see if we can land it right here at our feet. I could use a little bit more up elevator still. Okay, so throttle holds on. My trim is almost all the way down, so we're gonna have to do a mechanical adjustment probably on this one. The mechanical adjustment's inside, so we'll show you that at some point, but for now, let's take back off. Yeah, kind of a, I would say that's like somewhere between unlimited and almost unlimited vertical. Yeah, I mean, it's going away from us straight up, so I would say that's unlimited. This plane, it just does everything you want it to, and it does more. All right, so let's do some craziness here. Let's see if we can land it. Remember, guys, don't hate on me. This is the Virgin Maiden flight. It is the first time I've flown it. We were literally trimming it for the first time here. Okay, here we go. Let's try some reverse thrust action on touchdown. So you can slow down really quick. Does this thing need reverse thrust on regular landings? No, of course not. But is it totally awesome? Yes. 3200 4S Gen 1 in this case is what we're flying today. So just be a little bit careful on that reverse thrust. You don't want to reverse up into a big bump like this. You see that bump? I don't want to break anything. So you got to be a little bit mindful on that stuff. Just love the way it looks, guys. We have the leading edge slats installed. That is an optional feature. You don't have to put them on. You'll notice it's white up against that beautiful red wing. I love the way this plane looks. I think the red looks a little bit cooler than the blue that it had been. I never thought it was a bad look, but I just feel like this one looks better. Oh yeah, she'll just about hammerhead with full landing flaps, which is sort of surprising. I feel like maybe the battery needs to go back just a hair too. That might help a little bit with our elevator. Let's go into the bowl for a minute. Oh, by the way, it's not dead calm, folks. That's one of the best things about the timber is that she'll do all this awesome stuff and she'll do it in less than absolute perfect condition. Now, I'm not saying it's bad right now. We probably have about 5 to 15 mile an hour wind. Gusts are light. Directional, it's coming right at the plane right now. That's the direction of wind. It does grass really good. It does pavement really good. And it comes with floats just like before. Just don't accidentally flip the direction of your throttle when you're on takeoff. Okay, we're gonna go up here and do some craziness. Getting up a few mistakes high. Sorry, camera crew, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Reversing the throttle, in flight. That's backward. Isn't that just insane? So there's some people that are gonna be really exceptional pilots and they're gonna do some crazy things with reverse thrust. I wanna see if I can get it to reverse hammerhead. I don't think we're gonna have enough thrust. Let's try. I would say there's not quite enough thrust on the reverse action to do that, but you can definitely slow it down going downhill. And then if you throw in full landing flaps and every other thing that you can do, like a slip and everything, you could probably get it. One thing I'm gonna tell you too, don't get yourself in a bind, okay? Be careful when you turn on reversing. Oh, by the way, our manual did not depict exactly how to set that up.
Mm-hmm.
We show it in our radio setup. So we had a couple of different minor issues on the build. I think that it might have been a shipping issue because the early samples that we get sometimes come a little bit further via ground shipping. And so I think that was one of the explanations. The fuse had broken free a little bit. That's very uncustomary. Ironically, now that I sit and think of it, my first 1.5 meter timber, we did have a little bit of an issue on one of our, something, I can't remember what it was. It was super minor. It was one of those things where you only would have known if we brought it up in the video. Which we did, because we always show you guys the good, bad, and ugly. Okay, full speed into full flaps. Let's put it down on the end of the driveway if we can. Better to swallow your pride and get a longer rollout. Oh, it's so cool being on the reverse. Okay, so they're saying a 7-minute flight time. We're 20 seconds from 7. Out of the flaps. Let's show them some safe real quick. Okay, I'm gonna turn on safe. Here's safe. Full landing flaps with safe. Let's just show you. There's your limited bank angle. There's your limited bank angle. Looks like it lets the nose come down a little bit. Not necessarily a problem. I have 50% throttle here, a little bit of rudder mixed in, and look at it. This is in safe here, folks. That's a safe landing uphill. Okay, so safe is off. Takeoff flaps only. And before we hit the driveway, we're off. I feel like the elevator, we're in the recommended outside hole. I think on this plane, I'm gonna immediately go to the inside hole because I feel like the inside hole is going to give us just that crazy effect. I can barely pull off a cornhole, which I don't like. I think that this will be great for a beginner if you have it on the outside hole, but if you're a more experienced pilot, you should be going to the middle, if not the inside hole. Over the vampire killing zone, here we go. Full landing flaps there. We're just gonna kind of glide it in, do a little bit of a slip, and let's just do it with no reversing. And that little bit of gust is enough to lift the wing. Reminds me of the original timber. It really liked to do that. We have 2-second deployment on our flaps there. They do show a recommended correction. Let's do some upside down flight for people. As you guys know, I don't do a lot upside down flight just because it's not my cup of tea. But this plane does everything that you set it out to. Full smart technology, everything that you want it to do, it does it really well. Even with the leading edge slats, she feels totally in control. We'll just do a little figure 8 here. Remember, we're past our time, so this is on borrowed time with a smart pack. Upside down, figure eight. All right, let's bring it out. Here we go. Full flaps. Let's see if I can get a good landing for once. Reverse. So without further ado, when you check in the link in the description below, when you check it out to see how much this thing costs, I want to warn you guys, we're a little bit premature on this release. The reason we're doing that is because evidently the blue ones, the original ones, are out. They're gone, which is leading people to believe somehow that it was discontinued. It's not. This is what's replacing it. Okay, so it's going to be a little bit longer wait. We hate to report that to you. It's not up to us. We don't have any input on it, but we do get the early releases in time to tell you about that, because it has been an issue. Evidently, Horizon has been trying desperately to get them in, and it's just delays, COVID delays. Let's just call it what it is. When they do get here, they're going to be awesome. If you haven't already experienced the turbo timber or the original 1.5 meter timber, you're going to want to get yourself one of these. If you guys are all about the Draco, but you can't quite afford the $600 price tag on it, this thing is less than half the price. And I want to say it's almost slightly better in its flight performance, but it's a whole lot less beautiful. And you have to know that. It's not flying on a 6S platform. You're only doing 4S. You can get into this all in. You can get into this thing so much cheaper. And here in the next few months, there's going to be a release for the DXS. So if you guys are getting one of the Aero Scouts, or you're getting the Carbon Cub ready to flies, there will be a release on the firmware that will allow you to set up flaps and also use the panic button. So you're going to have the full feature on the DXS. However, you're not going to have correction for elevator, which is going to be a big factor on this plane because you're going to want to balloon like crazy. And you're also going to have to make sure that you understand having that programmability gives you all the expo and dual rates and things like that that we use every time we fly. It makes them look so much better. If you guys are getting this plane, my recommendation, this is a no BS recommendation from Brian Phillips. This is a great plane. You'll love it. It's one of the best ones we've seen, and we've seen like what, 6 or 7 timbers now. I just don't, there's nothing bad to say about it. We ran into a couple of little issues putting it together, but beyond that, it's just a great plane. This is not unreasonable to be a second plane if you're flying out of safe or in safe. Also, you get the floats included, which is a great value. Flying this thing on water, it's got more than enough power. If you're flying it on 2200 4S, you'll be fine. You might need to move it all the way to the forward to try to get the CG right. So just be paying special attention. You can definitely fly it on 3S. It's gonna have plenty of power to do what you wanna do. But in my opinion, 4S is the way to go. The 4S 2200s are not expensive compared to the 3S 2200s. It's like a couple bucks more. If you're thinking about which one to buy, I would recommend the 3200 4S is what they recommend. I think it's plenty good there. If you're flying on floats and you want to play with the CG a little bit more, the 3200 fits right in there, okay? So there's not a lot of flexibility. I'm going to try to get mine forward a little bit, so that means I'm going to switch my leads so they're on the back side of the battery so I can slide it forward a little bit. Love the way this thing flies. It's going to do great in grass here. We just cut our grass yesterday. Oh, you want to take off going forward. I understand. As you can see, it gets off the ground, no problem at all. Let's show them a landing here. Okay, so just coming around. We'll go on the other side of the runway, right where we took off from. There you go, okay? It does like to tip when you get the wind. When you get the wind, crosswind like that, it's just cross. But that's one of the best parts of the timber, is that you can pretty much take off whatever direction you want. So we'll go straight into the wind here and see if we can avoid that. By the way, we are in borrowed time here, 5 minutes 59 past our 7. Here we go, we're gonna go ahead and do this now. You ready? Full throttle, and up. I'm noticing a little bit more noise on the prop. So when we get landed, we're gonna check ours to make sure it's not loosened at all. You hear it? Sounds cool, actually. Okay, out of a flip. We're gonna just kiss the top of this grass if we can. There we go. So as you can see, it does really good. I did notice on the old timber that if you catch the wind like that, it'll want to tip you up. Couple things to help correct that. First of all, get those rudder holes and elevator holes into the innermost holes so you have a little bit more authority. If you're more skilled on the piloting side of things, you can definitely get away with that. This thing will become crazy if you do that. Maybe do the middle hole if you just want a little extra authority. I personally want a little bit more authority. I'm gonna definitely do that. Keep in mind, if you're running full safe, you may see a little bit more oscillation. Actually, AS3X will do the same thing if you go to the full hole and you're going full speed. But this thing is not an overly fast plane. There also are some adjustments in the menu structure with the Avian ESC. We're gonna go over exactly how to do that. I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to see in the bright sun. Can you see?
I'm not sure we can.
Okay, so if we go down to, scroll all the way over, you have to do this from a fresh battery plug, okay? It gives you the instructions. Everything comes onto the screen. It's done through forward programming, or excuse me, it's not done through forward programming. That's done on a different setup. It's like a text communication protocol. So it just displays on the screen and you use your sticks to control. It's very easy. We'll show you exactly how to do it, but you have to do it right. If you don't do it right, it won't work. It'll never let you in to actually reprogram that Avian receiver. Excuse me, Avian ESC. Now, the other thing too is the Avian ESC, I noticed that when we went in first, it switched our flight mode to like heli. So it did cause some problems initially, but it was super, super easy thing to fix. It took us like 30 seconds to fix it. So just be aware. First time you enter the Avian ESC, you may have the same scenario where it comes off of a fixed wing and it goes to heli. So if you start your motor and it's like, and it takes forever to speed up, that's gonna be because you went into the heli ESC setup. And so you'll want to just double check on that. Definitely on this plane, there's enough stuff going on. You want to check the build video. If you're not sure what you're doing, toward the end, we're gonna have our radio set up. I didn't feel like we needed the expo we have on this. In fact, let's shut the expo to the lowest setting. Okay, we're gonna do one more circuit. I think we're gonna be able to get it out of here. Full throttle. Let's bring it back on the runway. Okay. Oh yeah, she's really kind of making some noise, so I think we probably got a little bit of a loose prop or something going on. Yeah, that looks so good up against the blue sky. If you have a blue plane, yeah, I'm thinking of one of my subscribers. He always complains every time there's a blue plane. Multi-rotor go. So, as you can see, kind of hard to explain if Expo is working or not to people that are watching a video. Expo is highly subjective. I could definitely say this with certainty. That's it. Just got our critically low warning. Okay, so let's back taxi it here. You guys hear my... That's a critically low warning. So just so you guys know where we ended up, we're at 13.9, so I'm gonna go back. You have to cancel out of that. I'm 10 minutes 5 plus talk time. I would say that we have about 15 minutes of flight time conservatively. So if you fly this thing hard, and it's not like we're being nice, we're doing like flying backward with throttle going downhill, I would say that you could easily fly this thing if you're just doing a relaxing flight. You get 15 to 20 minutes without really pushing your luck. Maybe 20 be a little bit of a stretch. But I would say on this plane, if you set your timer to 10 minutes, you should be fine if you're using smart packs. Let's go check the status of the pack. Obviously, we've got some feedback here. If we just scroll over. Yeah, see, it says pretty low. Horizon, if you're listening, put a percentage for us. I want a percentage. Everybody else does too. 3.5, we drain that sucker. Yeah. It's gone. So 3.5 is good. Oh, and this is what I was talking about. If you go into forward programming, you should be able to make some of these small adjustments, okay? See how the flight mode changes there? This is your safe. Okay. So those are things, I believe you have limited access in the AR637TA. This has an AR637TA, not a T. Okay, the new TAs are coming out. They're gonna be jailbroken for us, which is really nice. If you have an older one and you have to update the firmware to get to that state, then you have to have that little programming cable, which is a bummer. But at any rate, the programming cable that has the regular servo end, you put it in the bind programming plug, hook it to your USB plug on your computer, on your PC, and then you can use the software to go ahead and update that to the latest and greatest firmware. The Avian ESC, super easy programming. Guys, this thing, I was surprised it didn't come programmed. Yours might. So before you even try it, just get it out of the box, get it all set up, and then just give it whatever switch you want to give it and see if it switches. Okay, I was on auxiliary 2. Okay, you have to define that in the menu. You also have to set the braking to reversing. Okay, it's not just reversing. You have to also set the braking. Just watch the video, you'll get it. Love the plane. Everything I expected it to be. We're gonna try to capture another flight tonight, and that's gonna be in the hopefully we'll get a beautiful sunset. But I don't have to get in here to get the battery out. I don't have to have water splashing up here. One other thing we did that was a little bit out of the ordinary is we added this piece of tape here. That was something that, look how hard that thing holds on there. You're not gonna be losing this canopy, okay guys? It's very sturdy. We also had to fix our exhaust ports, but honestly, like, who cares? It's like such a non-issue. Great plane, guys. If you're looking for a great plane to get into, this is it. Don't forget to set up your throttle hold, okay? When you got reverse involved, people could get their hands cut, so make sure you're using the throttle hold. If you aren't in the habit of doing it, just get in the habit. Just start today. It's not a big deal. It's one of the only safety things that I push hard on, because to be honest with you, you know, safety measures are only as good as the equipment that hasn't failed. But this is one of them that I believe in. It's very easy to do. I would highly recommend it. Feel that. The motor is toasty. Camera crew, would you mind holding that?
Sure.
Just so you guys can see, we're doing pretty good on that 4S 3200. It looks like it might be a little bit angry with me. The straps are not of the highest regard. Again, like I said, not much to complain about on this plane, so I'm going to complain about that. Horizon, you should be using better straps than this. Sorry. Love this battery. Whew, we were a little mean to it. Maybe 15 minutes next time. But I would say definitely this plane is awesome. You're not paying for 6S power platforms. Here, camera crew, touch that. It's a little toasty. This plane is great. I would definitely highly recommend it. If you haven't already had a Timber, if you have the Draco, okay, I think the Draco is going to outperform this in looks by far, but this plane is probably going to ultimately outperform the Draco in terms of just pure flying performance. Plus, a 1.5 meter is so much easier to transport. The plugs are easier to get undone and done. So if you need to take this wing off, the wing comes off with 2 nylon screws, and this whole thing comes off. It stays in one piece if you want, or you can separate it. But in my case, the 1.5 meter Timber sits so tall. I've always found that, like, if you take a pillow and you lay this upside down on the back of your SUV or in your pickup truck or whatever, it won't slip around as bad, and it helps a lot with space. And then you can interlace other airplanes, because that's what we've always done. The 3-bladed prop gives you better prop clearance than the initial 2-bladed prop, but I like the way that the 2-bladed prop looks. Even though you get more grass cuttings that get thrown up onto your wing, and you get more water that gets splashed up when you're doing water ops. So I think right now we're kind of getting the best of all worlds. Doesn't feel like the prop is loose. I'll just probably take that apart and verify it. Everything feels good there. So awesome plane, great job E-flite. This thing is everything I wanted and more. If you guys are thinking about a 1.5 meter, get it. Follow the links in the description. You'll be helping to support our channel. You'll be helping to support my poor camera crew that has to work with me all the time. And you'll also...
Do I get to say?
What?
Congratulations.
Oh, yes, you can.
Officially.
It's officially, we made it over the 100,000 threshold.
Yeah, good job.
We tried desperately to get a live shot.
It was in the middle.
But it was in the middle of the night, or at least in the middle of our night.
It was, yeah, it was between like 3 and 7 a.m. our time.
Which is might as well be the middle of the night for us.
Yeah.
So thanks, guys. We really appreciate you being part of this group. We know that you guys have been ultra supportive of us in this hobby, me and the camera crew. Want to give our utmost thanks to you. We know that you'll keep coming back because you always have. But as long as you guys are supporting us, we're going to keep putting up the footage. More shirt videos from Brian Phillips to come. Stay tuned. We're not done with this one yet. YouTube, fortunate to be bringing you this. You already know what it is, so we're going to cut it open. All right. Why are you seeing this video now? This is pretty early for pre-release still. The reason you're seeing it now is not only because it is freaking awesome. Oh yeah, baby, look at that. But secondarily, they're out of the old ones. So we are bringing this a little bit early so that you guys know, don't freak out, you're gonna be able to get what you want. And believe me, what you want is this thing. It is awesome. You've already seen it fly. What do we have here? Sometimes these early samples have interesting paperwork. Yep. Interesting paperwork. So, what is this thing? This is the Turbo Timber Evolution 1.5. First of all, you may have noticed it's got a different livery, which is pretty cool. It's got a different landing gear setup. They are more robust. This also has reversing on a full smart ESC, which is awesome. They're saying it's a skill level 2. This would be a great second plane. I want to talk to you guys for just a quick second before we continue on. If you guys are thinking about getting a plane like this, the NX6 or NX8 will do what you need to do. The NX8 will do almost every model that's coming out in the near future. This is like 40 bucks more than the NX6. When you ask me, I'm gonna tell you this is what I recommend. So if you wanna get a DX, fine, but the DX are gonna be dropped eventually, so just be aware of that. That's why I keep telling you to get the NX, okay? The NX and the DX are so close. The DX is a little bit cheaper right now because they're going out the door eventually. So you need to be aware of that. The NX is what's going. Now, obviously you have like IX12, IX20. I'm jealous of you. But anyway, for now, the NX8 is awesome. We fly pretty much everything we have right now. I think we're up to like, what, 30 models in there?
Yeah, almost.
But here's the big catch, big catch. If you're buying one of the new ready to fly planes and you're a new pilot and you want to use your DXS, there's going to be some software updates coming soon to allow you to make the necessary changes between the assignments on the bind button and what would be the flap switch gear switch. And so I want you guys to be aware. We're going to do our best to communicate that when it happens. Sometimes it takes us a little bit to work these things through our pipeline of video footage, so we don't want you to be waiting around for days for that. Without further ado, let's show them the cats. So we had 11 cats running around, and now we are down to 6, which was a weird, glorious, and sad day all at once.
So we have 3 cats and 3 kittens left.
Yes, we gave away a bunch of them, and they were so dang cute, but when you have that many cats, it's like crazy. Yes. I don't know how cat ladies do it.
I don't either. I don't think they have kittens all at the same time.
How would you not if you have like hundreds of cats?
Well,
I mean, cats are wild animals when there's that many of them.
You can take care of that, Bob Barker.
Yes. So all I'm gonna say is we were very happy to have them for a short time and enjoy their cuteness.
It was super cute.
But it was getting to be a thing. And we knew it was gonna be like that. We just wanted to keep them with mom as long as possible so they could keep nursing and all that good stuff. All right, so enough about our cats. Let's get back to this beautiful plane. Obviously, the timber's been awesome for years. No exception here. I am very happy to report top load battery tray. Thank goodness. See, you guys, sometimes you get the impression that Horizon doesn't listen to our complaints because sometimes there's a lot of them. They do. They do. That's all I'm gonna say. When I'm talking to them, they are aware of the concerns. Many times the concerns are shared by the people that are trying to make things happen. Not folded manual, that's very nice. Dear valued customer, in order to bring you the best product experience possible, please visit our product pages at www.horizonhobby.com for the most up-to-date manual. Okay, so they're suggesting that you get online and download it, but we're not gonna be doing that because we can't even get online and find this stuff yet because it's pre-release, which is really cool, and super honored to be able to bring you this stuff. By the way, guys, just get this out of the way right now. We are, how many people away?
Are we peeking?
We are currently 13 subscribers away from 100,000 subscribers. So thank you. We wouldn't be here doing this if it weren't for you. Every one of you guys has helped to bring us one step closer to where we are now. 100,000 doesn't mean that the road ends. That looks really nice. Big decal. See this? It's all one big decal.
Wow.
That's cool. That way it won't buzz, hopefully. Now, this doesn't come with the leading edge slats installed. You have to choose to do that. We're gonna obviously be doing that because why would you not on a timber? Looks nice and smooth. This is kind of like a translucent red though, which is weird.
Yeah, it is different.
Yeah, you can kind of see through it. I like the trim scheme. You know, honestly, red pops in the sky. Mm-hmm. And we never know what these things are gonna look like when they come to us, especially on a pre-release basis like this. We're finding out right now. That's when we find out. I mean, we sometimes get some information ahead of time. Okay, so landing gear looks super similar. Not sure what changed, but evidently something changed. I think it might be the spring mechanism, but we're gonna find out what part got strengthened because there was evidently something that got changed, strengthened. Okay, so we got a spinner in here. So anyway, getting back to my whole point, we wouldn't be here if you guys weren't supporting us. So buying from the links has been really helpful to us on the channel. It helps us to get paid for our time, okay? It's a big deal because we spend a lot of time on this. It's like a full-time job for one person, but because there's two of us, technically it's maybe a little bit less, but it's pretty much a full-time job. So it doesn't seem like it should be, but try it sometime and you'll understand. 3-bladed prop, just like the previous turbo timber. I think the foam on this might be, it feels super light. It feels really light, which is cool because, yeah, I know, like it doesn't seem like it shouldn't be that light, but it totally is. Big Fowler flaps. Sorry, I know that's not a good idea, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I love the way that the ailerons and flaps look on this. Look at the plug. Oh yeah, baby. That is awesome. So we don't have individual plugs now, we've just got one. So it's a little easier for you guys that have to take the wings off to get in the car. 1.5 meter is pretty big, folks. And this thing sits tall, okay? So now, a couple thoughts while we're on it, okay? Is this the poor man's timber? Excuse me, the poor man's Draco, okay? Because I know a lot of you are thinking it. And the answer would be, I think so. Verizon probably doesn't want me to say that, but I think that this is an awesome alternative if the only reason you're not getting the Draco is money. This is gonna fly really good. It's gonna be really fun. Stall performance, short takeoff or landing, short takeoff or landing, of course, is what STOL stands for. And this plane is gonna definitely be a STOL plane. Yeah, oh, by the way, it does come with floats, okay? So just like the previous predecessors. Now, we're not even gonna, we'll go ahead and open them just to show you what it looks like, but we are not gonna install these yet. We may do some flight footage with floats if we get access to a pond. We used to have 3 ponds on our property in our neighborhood, so we were really lucky to be able to use those. Currently, we don't have access to a pond. We have water on our property and we might build a pond someday. That's gonna be expensive. I feel like I'm jumping around here, but see this? There's a string, it's taped, okay? So that's cool. Looks like the mounts are in a little bit different spot maybe. Here and here, I thought they were a little bit further back maybe. But either way, they've got this to break the, where the water splashes. So anyway, very cool. This all comes in the package, which is super nice because that, I mean, ordinarily that would add quite a bit of cost to a plane. Oh, and by the way, I didn't show you that. That hasn't changed, so I'm not gonna go into great detail on it. But that rudder, that water rudder is huge. By the way, reversing ESC, big deal, folks. Being able to reverse the ESC on water is just, it's very much necessary so that you can get out of trouble, because believe me, as soon as you don't have a reversing ESC, you're gonna have some like duck attack you and you're gonna end up cornered into some reeds and you're gonna be out there wading through the water with your waders on and people are gonna be pointing and laughing. Gosh, it's like it happened to me.
It wasn't that bad, was it?
It didn't.
Not the
I was just pretending. The pointing and laughing. kind of bring that on myself. Okay, so AR637TA inside here. That's pretty cool. Got the light controller module here. ESC, you can see the smart lead on it. Yes, this does have 3 leads. Yes, this has the connectors like this. Honestly, I'm not sure how I feel about these connectors, to be honest. It seems a little weird to me to have that multi-connector like that. It seems like one more thing you're gonna have to buy, you know? But honestly, it's gonna make it a lot easier to plug everything in. Mm-hmm. But how hard is it to plug in 2 wires? Okay, so look at this. Mine, the wood was not pulled out, okay? Yours might be the same way. That's a shipping thing, okay? I love the way that this thing looks. If you just sit here and look at I love the way that the black is up here. This thing comes off. Oh, it's hinged. It's hinged, guys. That is so cool. Obviously the motor mount, metal, that's good. Feels like this is kind of wiggling. I don't know if mine got broken shipping or if that's supposed to wiggle. Does not appear to supposed to wiggle. I think mine might have got busted in shipping. So hopefully yours doesn't. I'm gonna glue mine. It's not gonna be that big a deal. But then how does this lift up?
Does it, or does it all just go in?
There. No. This is a top access right here. I'm just not sure how to open it. Well, the instruction manual might show us that.
It might.
Okay, we've got some information here. We'll go over that later. I just want to know how to open it so I can show you guys what's going on there. Okay. I was correct about where it is, but I don't know exactly how that lifts up. Does it just pop off, you suppose?
Lift up on the rear of the hatch to remove the hatch from the fuse.
Oh, it's magnets.
Show the
I thought it was a hinge point. It's not, it's magnets. See?
Yes.
Magnet here, magnet there. So this drops down just like that. That is sweet. I wonder how hard that's gonna be to get off of there. I like that it didn't come off from the front. I thought it was gonna hinge like this. That would have been not so good because then the wind would have caught it when you start giving it throttle. Okay, so what is going on here with these? Oh my goodness. There's 4 of these. They extend out so that the motor's mounted way out here. That's awesome. I love that this is open on the top. Guys, one of the fatal flaws on all of the different timbers have been loading the battery. It's one of the reasons why when people ask me between a Mall and a Timber 1.5, I've always had a really hard time because I feel like they both have pros and cons. But now that this is a top mount, it's probably gonna take the cake, you know, over the Mall. I think the Timber flies a little bit better than the Mall too. Like, it's just a little bit more all-around everyday performer. Whereas the Mall flies great too. It's just, I don't know, maybe you have to fly it a little bit. It's kind of hard to explain the difference. All right, so here we go. This is a 1173. 3-bladed prop, very nice, clean. Okay. I don't know about you guys, but I like the 2-bladed prop on the original Timber. But the thing is, when you're on the water, it kicks up more water. So the 3-bladed, and I like the turbo Timber nose. I think it's cool looking. But some of you guys kind of felt like I did, where you preferred the look of the original Timber 1.5 that had the big 12.6 prop on it, I think is what it was, just a 2-bladed. I'm having a little bit of hard time getting this thing out. That's kind of annoying. I don't know why. The wings are on the bottom, and then there's some struts for the floats. Don't forget to get your struts out here, okay? There's struts here. So I'm sliding those down. I should be able to get those out in the middle. Right here. As usual, Horizon has done a really nice job on packaging. Oh, but you know what? Look, that we did have a break on our packaging here. So that's probably how that nose got damaged like that. That's unfortunate, but you guys got to remember this is an early sample and this is coming straight from China. So that means that you guys won't have near as long as shipping. I mean, it might come from China still. It's obviously going to come from China still, but it's going to come in a container with like 400 more of those.
Yeah.
So there's going to be more protection for yours. Did ours come from DHL?
It did this time, actually.
Yeah, DHL ships
Yeah,
when they're coming from overseas.
Yeah.
Yeah, the early samples have to ship from overseas, so.
Is
I am really
access-
having a hard time getting this wire out, folks. I don't know if there's something I'm doing wrong or if it's just like I'm getting the wrong angle. Ooh, it kind of fell now, didn't it? There you go. So you can push it from right here and then it tips down. These are for the floats. This is how you you slide those into the top of the floats, and then these things slip into the frame. That comes out and it goes in there, and then this goes in here the other way. Super easy to put the floats on. It's a little tricky getting the water rudder ropes tied off. It's just fishing line, but once you get it, you should be golden. It basically goes onto the tail dragger. There's a pivoting linkage. Here, actually, I can show you right now. This is what you hook up that wire to.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it goes here and here. So it's super easy. Ooh, look, embedded hinges. That's good. I can't remember if our last one had that. I think it did. Good heavy duty tail dragger wheel. That's good. Big, robust connection point. That's nice. And then this, of course, goes into the fuse, which is nice. Got a top light. Got a bottom light. That's good. This is a little bit annoying that that's broke, but that was, like I said, that's a China thing, I think. How is that even attached? It looks like it's screwed on maybe, so I'll have to open up that cowl and see if I can get that resolved. That might be a replaceable part too, because look, there's a single screw here, which would be awesome if I could take it off of there. Okay, so we're getting really into the weeds here. For those of you that don't like watching the unboxings, I get it. It's not for everybody. Personally, I'm not big on unboxings, but I know a lot of you guys like to see what you're going to be getting. It's like, hey, I'm going to be spending a couple $100 on this thing, or $300 or $600 or whatever it is. You know, I'd like to know it's going to show up in one piece. Well, mine came in one piece, sort of. Boy, that's going to be like one of the first times we've had something broken in the Horizon product.
Yeah.
But it's an early delivery, so I'm just not going to make a thing of it. Look at this. These are the leading edge slats. Okay, so they're taped under here. And I'm being super careful because those things are a little bit delicate. So just be aware. Then there's a piece of tape here, and then there's a metal rod. So I don't know if you guys remember this, but like on the Timber 3D Timber Extreme, there was Night Timber X or the Timber X, which was a 1.2 meter size. This was for the tail, so it would help CG out. I don't know if we have that same situation here because I just see one. This is the joiner, which is really strong. Holy crap, look at this. I mean, I'm pushing hard and it's not bending. That's what I was hearing. I was hearing this hit that.
Rattling around.
Yep. So I was thinking there's something else in there that's broken or whatever, but it wasn't. Okay, so we've got the wings here. Looks really nice. I'm not even gonna fly this without leading edge slats or slats. Some people give me trouble about saying leading edge, okay? Leading edge.
Redundant.
Leading edge. Slats. Sorry. Horizontal stabilizer and elevator. Looks like they're packed together. Looks good to me. Embedded foam hinges, that's really good. Got some lube in there. Just kind of looking at that. Is there reinforcement in that? I can't see reinforcement, so I don't know if this is gonna be, I don't know if that's good or not. I know there was there was a lot of turbulent air on the first 1.5 meter timber, but I never felt like it flopped around like the Apprentice. The Apprentice, really, that was one of the things that it would wiggle and waggle under full throttle, even though it's not like an extremely powerful plane, being that it's a trainer. I never felt like it did that on the timber. This is gonna go together super easy too, I can already tell. All right, so all the pieces are out. That's everything, guys. We got everything out of there. We did have that one little teeny bit of damage on this, and I'm actually kind of curious. I'd like to put that to rest. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab a screwdriver and we're gonna address that right now.
Hey, you forgot your nutsack.
What? Where was that?
It was in the end of the foam in like a little tiny pocket at the very skinny end of the box with the hardware.
Thank you for finding that, camera.
You're welcome. Might be helpful at some point here in the near future.
I get to use it?
Sure.
Wonderful.
Hey,
we're gonna find this cal out, but it occurred to me that we never actually took the slats out.
Yeah, I know.
So people have seen the slats. I don't think anything's changed about these. So I don't want to be super beat a dead horsey about this, but a lot of you guys might be looking at this for the first time with fresh eyes. This would be my like 5th timber, 6th timber. I can't remember. I've lost track. The timbers are great planes. They really are good planes. They are solid. They are really easy to fly. They're very forgiving. Power saves lives in airplanes. One of the few things that I don't like about the timber and its flight performance is that it's so easy to fly that you know, like it will make you think that you're a better pilot than you probably are. And so you need to be a little bit careful about that. Okay, these are labeled L, and then this one has an R, okay? So it makes it super easy to put those on. We'll be doing that shortly. And we'll be probably using, we're gonna use like a foam glue product. Foam to foam probably. Foam to foam, because that's a Horizon product. That way if you wanna buy it, you can buy it when you're buying the plane. Okay, so I undid the 2 screws here. Did that off camera while the camera crew was getting stuff out. I'm just seeing like how this comes off. Okay, so there is LED wire going there. Okay, so it looks like this. Oh, that's gonna be super easy to fix. It looks like it, oh, first of all, it snaps in there. Oh. So it just snaps in there.
Maybe it just wasn't.
Yeah, I just don't think it snapped. And then this one here, kind of the same scenario. I don't know if you can see that there, but that needs to snap down as well. Right there. See that? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to grab the plane stand and come right back. All right, folks, so you see this? I'm just wriggling this a little bit to break it free too, because I want it to be seated underneath that clip, okay? There we go. So this has got to be like an early release issue. So hopefully you guys don't see the same thing, but that basically fixed both sides. So now all I got to do is I can either do hot glue or I could be really lazy and just use CA. So we're going to use CA because that's what everybody else is going to do, right?
Sure.
Okay, so the only thing about CA is you need to make sure that it sets up quickly or you're going to have kind of a mess, I'm guessing, on your hands because that silver paint might run.
Oh.
Should we use hot glue? Let's use hot glue. Let's do it right for once. Okay, so we got some hot glue here. This is basically just gonna hold these things in. They weren't broken. I think the glue broke. Like the glue actually was just debonded. Okay. I'm just doing a little bit of glue here. You guys aren't gonna need to do this. This is probably an early release issue. Okay. So since it's hot, I don't want to burn myself, so I'm going to just go like this and just swipe it. Okay. Super easy. Nothing to it. Like this is an early release issue. Okay. You know, with exposed contacts. You're not going to have that on yours. I do on mine. Good enough for me. All right. So now that we've got that done, basically all we have to do is just put this, well, we can show you the motor real quick while we're at it. 800 kV brushless outrunner. Looks like it's a BL10. Looks nice. The mount is rock solid, by the way. So that's pretty cool. All right, so we're just gonna slide that back on. So yeah, so we're actually good there now. So these were basically just the glue was busted on it. So they actually weren't broken. I was afraid the plastic was gonna be broke. Then that would have been hard to fix, but honestly, it was so easy.
Well, it's nice that it's all accessible too.
Yeah, it's serviceable. That's really nice. Some of these planes, you know, they're really, really, really nice, but then they glue everything together, so you have no other choice but to basically hack things apart to fix them.
Yeah.
And that's just not very fun. especially on a nose of a plane. Like, you know, when you're a newer pilot, you're going to break the nose of a plane a lot. So it is nice that it's serviceable.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, cool. So that being said, we've got the build to do, and should be a pretty easy build. So why don't we just jump right into that? What do the instructions say? Let's look at the instructions, camera crew.
So you can ignore them.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so they're recommending a 4S 3200. Okay. I brought out 2200s, so I guess we'll have to go to the bigger ones. Okay, so they show how to assemble the prop, then the landing gear. Okay, so we'll start with the prop, then the landing gear. They're talking about the active portion of the antenna. If you guys didn't know this, the little part that's like clear on the antennas, that's the active portion of the antenna. So in case you didn't already know that. Okay. That's like, where's the rest of the steps? So it went from that to, okay, then we're gonna put the rest of it together. That's interesting. Everything looks pretty much exactly like the other ones. I mean, this is super easy stuff. Okay, all right, that's pretty easy stuff. So, oh, look at this though. See this? Mm-hmm. It goes to the outside hole on the elevator, to the outside on the arm. The ailerons are not accessible. The rudder goes to the outside to the outside. Okay, so that's easy enough. Safe select designation. If you don't know how to do that, we're going to show you that in the radio setup after we get the build done. 60 plus or minus 5 millimeters, so we have 55 to 65 is another way of saying that for the center of gravity, which we'll test when we're done building. Get the battery, the recommended battery size in there. We'll mark up the inside and then go from there. So first step is to assemble the prop, collet and prop holder and all that stuff, prop adapter. I'm a little bit tempted to just hot glue those things on today because we've tried all the other ways.
The slats?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, it's probably going to tell us to use CA. Did you pay attention?
I didn't read it that fast.
I didn't either. Dang it.
I'm gonna go look while you're screwing.
No, people come here for that.
Oh.
Yeah.
I know, I might need to switch you sides.
Oh, really? Well, in that case, switch me sides.
Angle.
So, well, yeah, I mean, we got to hit the right angles. Otherwise, there's no fun in that. Okay, so this is like way stuck on there. I don't know if that's normal or if I'm missing something. I don't think I'm missing something. Oh, there it goes. So it just slid up in there. Okay. So this is a collet prop adapter. This goes down and then it crushes this back, and that thusly hangs onto the shaft.
Got it.
Did you get that, camera?
I did.
It's pretty simple stuff. Mm-hmm. So that slides on there. This goes back. Then the prop slides all the way back, just thusly. There it goes. Then the nut. Then there was the nut. Okay. I suppose you're going to need to have a crescent wrench or some sort of box end wrench. I'm assuming everybody else is going to be like me, and they're going to get the easiest tool, which for me is a crescent wrench. This is a sizable wrench. A crescent wrench would be Crescent brand. This is not Crescent brand.
Whatever you keep in your kitchen drawer.
Whatever you keep in your drawers, just grab it. Yes.
Okay.
That's right.
I suppose that works.
Here we go. So that's tight as I can get it without getting too aggressive to the point of breaking stuff. Okay, so everything looks good, feels good. You want to double check on that after a couple of flights and just make sure it's still tight. And very good fit on that. That's awesome. I'm loving that. By the way, Tom, thanks for sending us the plane stand. That was a nice gesture from years ago. We have links to it, actually, if you're curious to buy. This Robart stand is a real popular one. It's been working fine for us for a long time. They're really hard to slide on these things, though. So if you want that to work, you're going to have to lube it up right here. So just so you know, in case you're curious, get the lube out. Not painted tips, a little disappointed by that. I'd like to see painted tips. Painted tips help to save fingers' lives. They do. All right, so what's next? Tail and...
Well, landing gear was technically next in the instructions.
Oh, on the instructions?
Yeah.
Okay, we can do that next. The landing gear on the timber are a little bit weird. I only know because I've put like 6 of them together. It's not hard, it's just a little bit strange. It's a little unusual because of this pivot here. So you have to get that the right direction.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I know that now.
And then there's like this weird spring attachment point. Okay, so open your nut sack and dump out the nuts and bolts and identify your screws. And then identify some more screws. Keep in mind you're gonna have some additional hardware that's gonna be used for attaching the floats. So if you see a bunch of random, seemingly arbitrary stuff, by the way, like a bind plug that you don't need, then it's there for you. Okay, some more screws. And then the nylon screws that are gonna hold the wings on, I believe, via this adapter, which this has a forward, and backward. And you can tell because it's sloped up like this. And you'll understand when you put the wings together, that will make perfect sense. Then it looks like there's some tape tabs that can be administered to cover up where the slats are, should you choose not to use the slats. I believe that's why they included those.
Sense.
Yep.
Good
So yeah, good call, Horizon. That was nice of you to include that. All right, so I don't know what screws to use for this, so I gotta look at the manual because there ain't no way you're gonna just know that off the top of your head. I mean, I know how to put it together, but I don't know what screws are what. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why we really like Horizon stuff. They have good manuals. 3mm by 8mm button head machine screw. And if that's a flat screw, I'm gonna throw it across the room. That does not look like the right one, but it might be. That looks like the only machine screw. Seems a little bit shorter than I was expecting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get the calipers out, folks. If you don't have a pair of calipers, just go downstairs and stop being lazy like me. Wait, I didn't do that. And ultimately somebody got so sick of watching me complain about my crappiest calipers that they bought me some. So this is what happens. I have this exact same pair downstairs, by the way. Literally the exact one.
You're not supposed to tell him that.
I told him that.
Oh.
He knows.
Okay.
He was like, I'm getting you one for your kitchen. Okay,
Thanks,
all right.
Danny.
Yes, thanks, Danny. All right, so this is, that's 2.3 on the shaft, and let's see how tall it is. Okay, so we're about 11.64, so that does not sound right. That sounds like maybe these ones. Those are self-tapping buttons.
Might be those.
Yeah, 3 by 10. Oh yeah, because we're just measuring the shaft. Yeah, that's 3 by 10. Okay, so that one is the ones that hold the 2 screws right here. You gotta show them right there.
Okay.
So yeah, there's 2 spring points that go there, and that's these ones. Okay. But then what ones we need to have 4?
3 8mm ones. So you need slightly shorter.
Yeah, but that's I don't have. How many?
3. 3 times.
3 times? No, that's 3mm by 8. And there's 2 on each side. So that's why I'm saying I don't think that's right, camera crew, unfortunately. It'd be nice if it was. You see this? Those ones are the same as these ones. Do you follow what's going on? If you only have 4, then that's not enough to satisfy both this solution and this solution.
Right.
Okay, so let's look at this together. I told you it was a little bit tricky, but it's not hard. It's just you got to get the right parts together. See that? Mm-hmm. And you see this? That is one of the issues because the head of the screw interferes with this. Okay. Then this goes here, right? That's the way that goes. Okay. And you want to put this one on first because this little piece gets unscrewed, and then that holds the other side on. So I guess the only way for me to really tell would be to go ahead and stick one of these into here and see if it threads, and it does. So now when I'm gonna thread this, I'm just gonna look on the bottom. You see on the bottom? No, on the bottom of that shaft. Can you see inside?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, watch. See how it goes through all the way? So now I just have to take into account how thick this is. Oh yeah, that's gonna be perfect. You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Because that means we're gonna clear for sure.
Right. So which ones were those?
So Horizon, if you're watching my video, to make sure we don't do anything inappropriate, make sure that you label your sacks. It would be helpful.
Labeled sacks are definitely helpful.
They're just so much more enjoyable.
It is.
Everybody needs to know what sack goes where.
Yeah.
That's what you get for not labeling them. All right, here we go, guys. We're just gonna ram these in right here and just get it all out there. Sorry, camera crew, I'm not intentionally using my hand to block your shot, I promise.
I don't believe you.
No, I like legitimately don't know how else I'm gonna get that through.
No, I know.
I can't feed the screws in first. I remember this being tricky, but this is just downright annoying me. Because you got to lay this on first, and then you got to have everything in 3 different spots at the same time. It's not hard, it's just a little bit weird. See, now it's in the right spot. Now camera crew is going to hold this with her other free hand so it doesn't fall. Yep,
Oh, goodness.
perfect.
Okay.
And then this spring, of course, needs to be out of the way. There we go. Once I get one screw started, then we're golden.
So as long as you have 6 hands.
If you have 6 hands, 1 camera crew, actually, to be honest with you, it's as with virtually every other aspect of the hobby. If you're filming it, it's a pain in the butt.
Yes.
If you're doing it by yourself while your wife is making dinner or whatever normal wives are doing at this time of your day, then it will be no problem. You'll be like, man, that went together really easy. That Brian, he doesn't know what he's doing. What an idiot. That's probably what they're all thinking too. Brian, I can't watch this anymore. It's too frustrating. Okay, so that's plastic, so that's a self-tapper. When it says self-tappers, they mean like this is a self-tapping screw, okay? So it's not a machine screw. So this says 8, but it's not. They're 11, I guess. I don't really understand why. But it's what it is. Now let's put the other one on. So it makes it really easy for you to film.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
You
You ready?
Hold that too while I'm at it.
Actually, I got to pull this out. Okay. Ready? Hold that right there. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, those nails look wonderful, camera
Thanks.
crew.
They can't see them.
How do they get so pretty?
They last for a long time.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's weird. It's almost like a shameless endorsement for something you're trying to sell. Is this a pyramid scheme?
No, you can just buy nail polish.
Dang it.
Oh,
That one's not going. Not even thinking about it. Hey, can you help me out here so it doesn't strip the screw? All right, let go. Just let go. I got it. I got it now.
okay.
Well, that's bizarro. That first one just was binding like crazy when
Yeah.
I went in. It's kind of almost making me think we need those short screws now. But those short screws are certainly not 8 millimeters long.
No.
They're like 1.5 millimeters long. And I know what they're for. They're for down there. Show them. Put your finger at that little white thing. They go
here?
into there, and then that's what bites the
Oh.
that's what bites the string that goes to your floats.
So that's for the
Water
floats.
rudder.
So if you don't put your floats on, you're gonna have extra hardware left over.
Oof, that feels very, very bad.
Why is
Oh
it?
my goodness.
You're on top of your plastic piece.
What are you talking about? No, that's not it at all. Just, I got this under control. I just don't know if it's a tap issue or if I got one with like a burr on the threads. I don't think so. All right, I'll come back to that maybe. I'm just looking inside the hole. Sometimes this aluminum, it'll do that to you every once in a while. And it seems like, see, I'm bottoming out. You see?
Yeah.
That is not okay. Whoa. Does this one move? See, this moves free and it moves through the whole range of motion. So we're totally fine there, okay? So this one here, same scenario. I can see all the way into that hole through to the plastic. Can you show them what I'm talking about? See how there's a hole there? I can see all the way through to the plastic. So when I move this, you can see all the way down to the bottom, okay? So that tells me that it's opened, but it doesn't necessarily tell me that the threads are not screwed up, which could be part of what I'm dealing with. I'm gonna switch screws, which is tedious and annoying, but I'm just gonna pull the screw out of this other side, and then I'm gonna put it on the other side and see if it goes. If it goes, and that just tells me I got a bunk screw, and then we have to go Rtl Fasteners way.
Yeah.
Okay, can you help me again, please? Just hold that right there if you could. So if we have to get a replacement screw, then that'll be annoying, but it's not the end of the world because we have them. I need this hole to line up there. You see what I'm trying to do there? Okay. Yeah, see, it's binding. So what that tells me is that this thing that's receiving the bolts has actually got a cross thread or something going on. Or they ran the tap halfway down and forgot, or the tap broke and they had trouble with it. I don't know. That's pretty disappointing. Okay, so that one's in good. I'm gonna get a bigger screwdriver and we're just gonna try this the good old fashioned get a bigger hammer way. If you guys ever run into this problem, I'm sure I'm not the first one that's run into this problem, but if you have one of those aluminum connection points like that, you could pretty much get them to go, but you just have to be aware that it's possible you won't be able to get this screw out very easy, okay? So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna be a smart feller. You know what I'm gonna do?
What?
I'm gonna go get my Rtl Fasteners Kit, and I'm gonna get a shorter one.
Oh.
Because then I can bottom out the pan head, still make purchase and not worry about overdoing it. So if you pause, we'll get that out. All right, so we have an Rtl Fasteners Kit. This is a hardware kit and then another hardware kit. This is kit 9155. This is kit number 743. I had somebody asking me the other day for that kit number, and it's just like I literally say it in the video because it's really hard for me to keep track of all these numbers. So if you guys are asking me what the number is, I just said it. It's in the video so that you don't have to ask me. Because guess what I'm gonna do if I have to look it up? If I'm at home, I'll go look. But if I'm watching a video, you know what I'm gonna do? I'll watch a video. Pretty amazing, huh? Okay, so this is number 2. And I kept all these little, each of these came in a bag so I could see what size it is. So that's like 256 by 1/2. It's gotta be pretty close. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's really close. That is the, it sure feels like it's the same thread count there. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm just interlacing the threads. So then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna see if I can find one. This is also 256, 3/8 inch long. If it's just slightly shorter than this, that'll accomplish our goal. We also have a metric set over here too. Okay. So it looks like that one is just a hair shorter. I don't know if that's short enough to accomplish what we need to accomplish though. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna also then find in the appropriate kit, I'm gonna find a nut, a single nut. That's 440, this is 440, 256, that's a nut zerd, I don't want that. This is 256 nylock. This is 256 hex nut. So I'm gonna try to grab one of these nuts, and that will space us back a little bit. Okay? Are you figuring out what I'm gonna do, camera crew?
Yep.
I'm just gonna put a couple of nuts on my shaft. I know, Why is it black?
Makes it a little awkward.
Yeah. This is going to be a hex drive instead of a Phillips.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a... Evidently it still works with the Phillips screwdriver though. Just good enough to get those nuts seated. Now what that's going to do is that's going to make it shorter without having to cut it off. Because, you know, cutting it off just seems mean.
Yeah, it's not what it looks like.
It's like kind of permanent stuff like that. Doesn't look like that is the right size. Okay, so this kit came with one of these, which is pretty awesome. It's got a rounded tip so you can make those angles. Okay, so let's see how this looks before we commit to this repair. And when I say repair, I mean, what the heck, but kind of annoying. Luckily, I've got this amazing Rtl Fasteners Kit. They're one of the many companies we work with to help bring the joy of hobby to you. Oh, that was like too much. I gotta take one of the nuts off.
One of your nuts off?
Yeah, just one. Just one. Not two.
Works.
It's not very nice. Okay, so we're gonna start this in here. If I can not drop.
Drop your nuts.
Nope, I'm not gonna drop my nuts. Okay, so I don't feel like I'm getting purchase at all now.
Mm-mm.
How can that be? I wonder if the shaft size, even though the thread counts right, I have too small a shaft size. Ooh, that would be the reason that this isn't working. Because I never actually put, I don't know guys, check this out. So here's the nut, the bolt that comes with it. Could be metric and I just happen to line up with the same thing. We have metric too. Okay, so just try to start this. Oh, it's binding. Okay, well, we got it wrong. We'll be right back. All right, so I found out it was actually an M2.5. I found an 8mm. That was part of kit number 743, the metric. And we were talking about that. And obviously these things are made in China, so many times they are using metric sizes, but you'd be surprised, many times they're not. So it is not a given that you're gonna be necessarily dealing with metric. So this one's 8mm long, so let's see if it gives us a good bite. Oh yeah, oh yeah. See, I feel like I'm hitting the bottom there where the threads are marred or whatever the deal is. But this is a lot easier to tighten in because of the hex drive on it. So now we need to go see if we can get one nut, and just before we go any further, we've got good clearance, so we'll be right back. Okay, so this is the M2.5 hex nuts. There was 50 pieces in this kit that is the kit number 743, okay? So I was able to find those. I just got 2 of them, and the camera crew and I were talking while we were paused. I can actually use the stock screw, and then just now that we have established that the screw is not the problem, it's just what it's going into. So in this case, then I'll have all Phillips screws.
Yeah.
My hope was to just get a short one and then I could just cut it and then I have the full stock configuration. But this way it's just going to space out the bolt far enough. Okay. And that'll shorten up the shaft to the extent that I can get everything assembled and actually have a proper bite on the landing gear. So this will make sense to most of you, I'm sure. It's not really exactly rocket science here. So there's a jam nut and a nut, okay? So we'll see if that works. And see, and that way when I get down to where it's actually marred inside, I'm able to get a very good purchase then. Now I just got to turn it a little teeny bit more so that the nuts are lined up so we have freedom of motion. Okay. So now that we're free, okay, so we're back on the road to finishing this project. So we'll pause and put some Rtl Fastener stuff away. All right, so now that we got that all done, we have to mount this thing here and then this thing here. So this is a pretty straightforward process, this particular step. The only reason it's not straightforward is that there's two different bags and they look like virtually the exact same hardware, okay? One has washers and one does not. This is calling for the self-tapping screws here that are supposed to be 10 millimeters long, okay? So just to be clear, these are 10 millimeters long, so that is correct. I believe that's right. Okay, so here we go. Get out of there. Get out of there. So all we have to do on this is really simple. You just kind of line it up there, and then you can start your screws. And then that's going to hold this up into this approximate position. You want to kind of hold this tight while you're tightening so that everything doesn't go awry on you. You can use a number 2 Phillips. It'll actually get you a little bit more torque, but it's a little harder to keep it on the head of the screw. Okay, so drop that in there. These are self-tapping screws, so they obviously are going to tap the plastic as you tighten them in there, so you'll notice a little bit of resistance as you go. I evidently need a China screwdriver. I've had a number of you guys explain to me that there is a Japanese standard type of Phillips tip, and that's fine. I understand that. It's just I'm just using whatever I've got in my kitchen cabinet here. You know, we don't want to order the right tools. We've already established that.
Overextend ourselves.
Yeah, well,
downstairs.
unless somebody wants to send us a Japanese screwdriver, because we don't have enough screwdrivers. Okay, so camera crew, are you gonna like show the people what I'm doing, or were you thinking that might work? See how I just I undid this one. Now I'm just loosening this one. Once it's loosened to the extent that you can slip that through, then you can slip that through. You don't even have to take it all the way off, okay? Did you show them that? Mm-hmm. Okay. We're just tighten this. And then your landing gear done. I mean, that was like the world's longest landing gear assembly video. I mean, you could have done that in about as long as it took me to get my kits out from Rtl Fasteners. But here's the thing that's nice about the Rtl Fasteners kits. I had them. Mm-hmm. Here's the other thing too, and guys, you already know it. But you could just take that, bolt and cut it. It would have been fine. You could have just cut about half of the length off.
Yeah.
But this way, I haven't modified it. I can go back to correct. Now this works independently to the left, independently to the right, or together. Really nice. Love the landing gear on this plane. One of the best parts of the timber, okay? So we'll flip that over. And technically the next step is to put the tail on, is that right? Then they like go into a million other steps, which is weird. So at some point we're gonna have to put these slats on. But I think it is actually quite a bit easier to do that when the wing is installed, because then you've got the plane like holding it down. Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and do the tail. So the horizontal stabilizer, you put those in, and then there's evidently some self-tapping screws, but still I don't know what the washers are for. That's very weird. Okay, so this is not hard to do, it's just kind of ambiguous, so. This is gonna go here, and there's your outside hole, remember? So to do these little clippy doohickeys, here, I'll just flip the plane upside down again. You basically have to pull this up, and it just goes by hand, and then this thing slips off. It's like really easy. Then I'm gonna slip this down onto there, and then I'm gonna slide that over the top. So it's over the top like this. By the way, this is the same setup they've done, I think, on all the timbers. So if you don't know how to mechanically trim that, I think we have a video on the first one. There's a playlist for every plane, guys. Okay, so that drops in there, very good fit. Like really, really good fit. And we need to remember to put those screws in.
And your spar, right?
Yeah, thank you, Kim. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. There's no spar. Remember when I held it up to the light?
Right. That one.
That one. There's one spot where that thing could ram in.
You don't usually forget that part.
The ramming part?
Mm-hmm.
Nope. I usually get it rammed in whenever I can. All right, here we go. Very good. All right, cool. So now let's check. Let's check which direction the screws are supposed to go. I think they go from the top. Yeah, they go from the top. Yes, they go from the top. And, well, if you look here, there's actually a few that are thinner, and those are the ones almost certainly that go into there.
Hmm. Almost certainly?
Almost certainly.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll get those out. Use our whatever most recently free. Ooh. That feels pretty good. I have my finger underneath to tell if it's protruding through the hole. Yep, and it doesn't come off now. So that's always handy.
That was pretty easy.
Yeah, well, you got to keep in mind some people are going to take this plane apart every time they go somewhere.
Right.
That would suck.
Sorry.
That would suck so bad. And this is like the easiest plane ever. And that would still suck.
I am not sad about not transporting planes anymore.
All right, now we need to assemble the wing so that we can stick it on the fuse. This should be pretty easy. I'm just gonna ram this in here all the way in until it won't go any further. And then I'm gonna slide this one in here. It's just all sorts of that stuff going around. Okay. Just support it, make sure the wires don't bind, get squished. And there you have it, so that's together. Of course, the cats have decided, like we have to eat right now while dad, or whatever you call a cat owner, slave, master-slave relationship, isn't that usually what it is? Okay, so this here goes like this, see? That is not keyed. That is very weird. That's like, when you have a dog, you're a dog owner, right? When you have a cat, you're owned by the cat.
Yes.
Isn't that the way they say?
Especially around like 4 a.m.
Oh my goodness, yeah, they get crazy. They get crazy. Okay? I feel like that's not falling all the way down. You know what? I remember now, it was a bit of a pain to do. Hey, here's a little quick hoop-de-doo to share. You see this? I'm pulling all those wires down, okay? Because I don't want those to be in this, in the way of all these. Can you even see what I'm pointing at? Why don't you come around here? See this? How my index finger is touching that thing?
Oh, okay.
See, there's two of these. Those are the servos for the elevator and the rudder. See that? That's what I'm talking about. Okay. Now, remember, we can't actually tidy this up yet. You know why? You got it. So this thing has a forward and a backward. See how nice that looks? Mm-hmm. That's because we got it in there the right way. If you get it in there the wrong way, it looks really dumb because it doesn't work. Okay, so next step for us is, of course, to go ahead and get the binding done. That's a sweet looking plane. That looks really nice.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna look even better with the leading edge slats on it. Yes, leading edge slats.
Sticking with it, aren't you?
All right, so the first thing we have to do the leading edge slats is to pull off all these little things. These are a foam tape, okay? Which I've always thought was weird. Okay, you're gonna have to let me into that spot, sorry. So this foam tape, I take the foam tape, I've done this on every timber I have, and I stick it onto a piece of plastic. And that way I can later recover these if I need to put them, if I decide to take it off, okay? And so once you pull these things off, then you're basically left with like a groove to ram something into. It's just awkward. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on each wing. And I think this might not be the most entertaining part of our video. So I'm not sure, should we pause and just like get all these things pulled off real quick and then come back?
We can, but I have a question.
Yes.
So that little thing that you're pulling off, it's not adhesive under there. It
is.
Just, oh, it is.
It's like a double-sided tape sort of thing.
Oh, okay.
Except it's only single-sided.
Single-sided.
But it's like a foam, it's like a 3M tape.
Oh, okay.
You know, like what you would put under a receiver or something.
So if you weren't going to put the leading edge slats on,
Then all you do is you just apply these beautiful stickers.
over the top
Yep.
before you take the whole tape thing off.
Yep, and then that would make up for the height difference, and
Right.
it would look super nice.
Okay.
And see, there's a bunch of them in there. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's kind of nice.
Okay.
By the way, that hot glue gun is hot, so
I'll be aware.
don't like reach down and grab anything.
Oh, well.
I just want to make sure we're on the same page here.
That was my question. We can pause while you finish
Oh, really?
unstickering.
Oh, okay. All right, so we have the right one here. It says right. Remember, it's like if you were the pilot in this plane, you'd be the right side of the wing versus the left side of the wing, okay? So those just slip in there. Just like that, you get a nice easy fit.
Oh,
Very simple to install. You
That's
want to
good.
go down a little bit. Show them the leading edge. You want to really emphasize the leading edge. So you can see through there. That's pretty cool.
well, that's cool.
Okay, so there's a couple of different ways you can glue this. You can use CA. I think you can use like any type of CA. I have always been reluctant to use CA on this joint. I don't really know why. Maybe I should just use CA just to show the people at home that it works.
But why are you reluctant?
Just because I feel like CA is a brittle connection. And I feel like you could use another type of glue and you would have a little bit more forgiveness. I'm not sure.
I thought you were going to use hot glue.
I was thinking about it. That's why we left the hot glue here to potentially burn us this whole
I
time.
know. You jerk all over my counter.
Never complained about it before. Okay, here we go. So there's a couple drips. Yeah, this is not foam safe CA. It's just we're just throwing caution to the wind, guys. If it's gonna eat this foam, you're gonna know right now. So I'm just like putting it into the crack, okay? Just getting the tip in there and then just squeezing. Okay, once you get the tip in there and you squeeze a little bit off, then you can slip the whole thing in, the whole doohickey into the thing, into the thingamabobber. The doohickey into the thingamabobber. Okay, so that's got CA on there now. And if you guys don't know what CA stands for, it stands for super glue. That's CA, super glue. That's essentially what it is. It's cyanoacrylate, I believe, or something like that. I'm saying it wrong. I know. I could type it out if I went to Google and figured out what the spelling was. So, all right. So the CA worked pretty good. All right. I guess we don't need you. This ain't no flight test. All right, so the next thing we got to do is replicate that exact scenario on the other side. This is like a high energy video, okay?
It is.
We got going here. It's been a long week, guys. I don't know about you, but I get vacation several times a year. And I'm looking forward to a couple weeks of vacation.
Because, contrary to popular belief, you do actually have a real job.
This is a real job.
You have another job.
I have another job that I work for 50 to 60 hours a week. And then I come home and ask my wonderful camera crew to devote herself to this YouTube channel. Hey, let's pause for a sec. I gotta check something.
What?
Still 13.
Oh. Was it 13 before?
It was 13 before. 13 subscribers to get to 100,000. We are kind of excited for the landmark. I've been thinking about it kind of on and off for a couple of months. This tube is gone.
Oh. Uh-oh.
But basically, the gist of it is when you hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, then like you're all of a sudden like you're magically verified, which means something to somebody somewhere.
Like we haven't been all the time.
Somebody at Alphabet is like, oh man, do I have to do that again?
Yes.
Oh, that guy Brian Phillips is verified now. Oh man. You know, it's like I don't really understand where they come up with these concepts. You know, it used to be just any schlub could make a YouTube channel like me. But then they were like, oh, wow. Wow, now that we see what happens when we let that go, you know, we're going to have to change the rules. So, yeah, the moral of the story is we're going to end up with 100,000 subscribers. And then from there to the moon. I don't know exactly where it ends. Okay, so this one's labeled L. And we really do appreciate you guys being there for us through thick and thin, regardless of if we have time. We love doing this.
Some of us wouldn't have put up with it for so long.
My camera crew has been very helpful. I would never have been able to do this without her help. And you guys remind me all the time, and that's true. It's noteworthy that I would not be able to film myself fly.
It would be tricky.
Yeah, I mean, I used to film myself do mods, and it was huge. I loved it so much. I had this wonderful thing, and I wore it on my head, and then I would get a neck ache. It was just horrible. I hated it, actually. It was terrible. I hated it. I had a Galaxy S3 that was mounted to a helmet.
So now we get to spend all of this quality time together.
Yes, and you know what? I've had a lot of people like, oh man, Brian, I really miss the days where you would film with the Galaxy S3 on your head and get a neck ache. And I'm like, do you really care about me that much?
Do people really say that?
Yeah.
Oh.
They do. They miss the days.
Oh.
I think what happened was, it was just, I think some of the guys that like watching the channel because they'll, you know, played in the man cave while they're working on their radio controlled airplanes, which is how we get like, you know, 1 or 2 people a year to watch a 4-hour video. Those guys like that. They, you know, it's just kind of like, it's cool. It's like they're part of a club.
Well, we just haven't done as many like mod videos and stuff either because we've just
been so busy.
So,
but it's good though, because in my opinion, I feel like the mod videos that we've done have been more targeted. But we used to do a lot of LED videos. We used to do a lot of flap videos. And nowadays, more planes are coming with flaps and LEDs. Case in point.
right.
All right. Enough Brian Phillips story time, camera crew.
What? Sorry.
It's time to get the radio set up. We'll come right back. All right, so we're gonna do the radio setup with the NX8. Just so you know, we looked through the manual and we have this early release. So I'm assuming that you're gonna wanna get the one online or they're gonna ship with a slightly different manual because it doesn't talk about the thrust reverse. Okay, I believe it's gonna be included, but we'll figure it out one way or another. All right, so the NX8, and I'm starting from my Draco model because that is the model that's close. And I just wanna show you this real quick. If you go over to monitor, A switch is on auxiliary 2, okay? So that's important to remember. Got it? Auxiliary 2.
Auxiliary 2. Got
Yep, so we're going to scroll down to System Setup, Disconnect RF, scroll all the way down to, scroll down to Model Select, Add New Model. That's the type, so you can change that. That's where you do your bind and flies, templates, or whatever. We're going to make this, create. Might also make sense to copy the Draco if you've already got the Draco. Then we're going to go to the model name, and we're going to change this from Acro, it's number 27, to the name of the plane, which is going to be the Turbo Timber Evolution 1.5 meter. So you scroll it over, you click, then you make your change to the letter, and then you scroll to the next, and so on and so forth, and we'll pause and come back when we're done typing. All right, so we have the Turbo Timber Evo 1.5 meter. So if you put Evolution, then you can't put the 1.5. The beeping is normal. Then you go to aircraft type, and this is where I'm going to flip back to that page. This is where you do your quick start information. We'll tell you how to set up your plane if you're doing a plug and fly, because it'll tell you how much throws you need for high and low rates, and then how much expo to set up for center of gravity, and then the flight timer for 7 minutes. We'll come back to that. And this is also where they suggest the size of batteries and things like this. So 14.8 volt, 3200, 30C, 4S. So this is a Gen 1 smart pack, because I actually don't have a 3200 4S in a Gen 2 configuration just quite yet. Okay, but it'll work fine. Okay, so then we'll go over to the next page in this case, and it's going to say start all transmitter programming with a blank acro, blah, blah, blah. Okay, this is where we're going to do this, and you can go by the DXE, 6i, 7S, 8, and then all the new ones down here. Okay. So the nuances for it. So the wing type is 1 aileron, 1 flap. And you're like, but Brian, there's more than one. Well, there's only one channel controlling it. Okay, next, scroll to the plane. I like changing the picture. That might be the closest, but we'll see. Let's see if there's another one. Yeah, that's the closest. Okay, and then we'll have to go back and do some different interesting things shortly. All right, so we've got the throttle cuts the first thing because it's a safety issue. Turn it on with switch H. They want the position to go to -130 on this plane. Historically, they were asking for -100. I'm going to set it to -130 for reasons of potential reverse thrust. Okay. Flap system, I'm going to set it to switch B by highlighting and then setting it. Then I'm going to match this setup, which is position 0 is 100. So there's 100, elevator corrections nothing, then it's 0, and then the elevator correction 16 to begin with. Then the other elevator correction, or excuse me, the other elevator position is going to be -100, and then it's going to be a correction factor of 30. Two seconds, so that means you have to set it for each button, each of the switch positions. 2, then 2, then 2. Now you can see it working there. Okay, so we'll walk out of there. Now, aircraft type is done. I think everything is ready to bind. So, I want to set the timer. We're going to set that to 7 minutes. 1 out is active. Scroll the next a couple of times. At 1 minute, I don't want any warning at all. I just want it to be quiet. At 30 seconds, nothing. At 20 seconds, nothing. At 10 seconds, I want it to voice. And then at expiration, I want tone and vibrate. And then 1 minute, I want it to tone every time we go by. 1 more minute. Okay. So everything is set. Throttle holds on. Flaps are in the correct position. We also have switch A is going to be used, I think, for thrust reverse. So we'll go over here, and it looks like that's on gear. So I don't know if that's assignable just quite yet. I think we have to go up to aux 2. So I'm going to go to system setup. Yes. And I'm going to go to channel assign. Aux 2 is now set to A.
Volume 50.
So now that's changing the gear and the aux 2. Which fine. Except it's not, because we're gonna need something else. So we'll go to system setup. We'll go back to channel assign where it says gear. I'm gonna click here and I'm gonna set gear to D. Then we're gonna use channels 5 through 9 can be assigned for safe select. So we'll use that for safe select.
Oh,
Okay, so now I go to monitor. Now A is controlling just aux 2. And then gear is being controlled by D. Nothing here, nothing here. And then aux 3 always defaults to the knob on an 8. Then I'm gonna go to dual rates in Expo. I'm gonna show you the way I set this up. I use switch F for all of this. For the first setting, I'm gonna set it to 5. Then I'm gonna go to 10. Then I'm gonna go to 20. And I'm gonna drop the rates back to 90. Then I'm gonna go to the elevator, switch it to F. We're gonna do 5, then we're gonna do 10, then we're gonna do 20. And drop the rates back down to 990. Then we'll go to rudder, set it to switch F, set it to 5, set it to 10, set it to 20. And then drop the rates back to 90. So then we start in this mode. If it's not touchy enough, we go to that mode. If it's too touchy, we go to this mode. We get it to the ground, then we change this to the center, and then we double it, and we have it. Make sense? All right, so now we're ready to bind. You don't have to have the Expo set up to bind, but it's just nice to have everything done. So we're gonna be using the 3200 4S. Might be a little easier to just put a 2200 4S in there, just because it'll fit a little easier. But for now, we wanna see if the CG's right as well. So just be mindful, this prop could start unexpectedly, even if you do things right, if there's some sort of a malfunction. So the first thing you wanna do is, I'm gonna go to monitor mode and make sure throttle is down, make sure it doesn't move. When I unlock it, it moves. When I lock it, it's locked, okay? So everything is where it needs to be. I'm gonna go ahead and lift this up. That's kind of weird. We'll have to put a piece of tape maybe on that.
Yeah, I wonder.
So as you can see, we've got lots of stuff going on in here. AS3X bind only, plug in switch. Oh wait, what does this say? AS3X only, leave plug in while initiating. Safe select, remove plug while initiating, okay? We're gonna be using the push button on the actual AR637, which is down here. See this? That's where the button is, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and tuck this wire from the Avian ESC down so it stays down and out of the way. I'm gonna slip a 3200 in here. I don't know how this stuff's gonna fit. These are the light duty straps. That's a little disappointing. I do not like this style of strap. They're too easy to break. I can live with that. Everything else is pretty awesome on this plane so far. With the exception of the one screw hole that was stripped or whatever. That was really annoying. Otherwise, I like this plane.
And loading the battery from the top is so much easier.
So much easier. So maybe this will be fine. I mean, it was a pain to put the batteries in the timber before. Okay, so 3200. So I don't know, maybe if this fits like perfectly, it won't be an issue.
Yeah, it looks like it's pretty good.
Because it's a pretty good fit.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just holding that down and then I'm gonna push. Okay, so everything is held. I need to have access to this, so if you can just be safe where you are. Okay, so it's gonna be really hard to show this, so I'm gonna turn off my transmitter. Typically you want your transmitter on and in command of your plane before you even plug a battery in. But when you bind, you plug it in and then you press the bind button, okay? So in this case, I am going to be plugging it in like this. Then I'm gonna press the bind button. It comes on, starts flashing. I've let go of the bind button. Now I'm gonna hold this. I'm gonna wake this up. I'm gonna let go. Did you notice there was only one dance? Mm-hmm. Okay, first things first, throttle is held. Okay, so we're safe. Safe select is not active because there'd be two dances at the beginning. That's two. We didn't hear that. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna turn this off. Okay, so the way we're gonna do this is a little bit different for safe select. You see how to do the S only. Now we're gonna do safe select. So you plug this in. It comes on. The lights are not flashing. You press this and you hold it the whole time. Then you press your bind plug or bind button and then you power it. Binding, DSMX. Now you can let go. See the difference?
Yep.
I'm hearing an interesting noise. That's all the way down, that's all the way up. Okay, so I just want to look at this real quick while I've got the wing off. This is the elevator here. So listen. That's level. That's attempting to bring it up like this because we have safe on right now, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make our assignment for safe select. First, we're gonna check the throttle is in fact off, and it is, okay? So we're safe there. Now we're talking about safe, sensor-rated flight envelope. That's what safe stands for. We're gonna use this switch. Sticks down and in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, so it's not working. Throttle holds on. That is really annoying. That's the elevator trying to restore the level of the plane. So to do safe select designation, you're supposed to have sticks down and in. You know why it's not working? Because I'm at minus 130 because of throttle hold. Okay, so I have to have throttle hold off, so I'm going to be very careful to move the wing. Okay, throttle hold is off. Now, down and in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Still not working. Okay, so throttle holds on. Test it. In the meantime, you hear how it stops as soon as I lift it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just get this wing on so we know that that's going to resolve that noise. Okay. Now that it's bound, we know that things aren't going to be breaking themselves. See how that holds in there? Very nice design for the wing joiner. See that? I like that a lot. And then these go down just like so. I can't handle that noise. It's driving me nuts.
Crazy.
Looks like it's really, really like the elevator might not be quite right. We're gonna find out when we fly it. It's not so hard to take this out. So once we get this all set up, then we can just take this off and adjust the mechanical linkage for the elevator. Okay, so those are nylon screws, pretty easy to take on and off, but if you had a drill, it'd be really fast, and that would be kind of handy. See how that's just pulling it down, pulling it down, pulling it down. Now it's wanting to kind of poop out this tip of the screwdriver. Yep, so we got it tight. Don't over tighten it, you don't have to, it doesn't really gain you anything. Okay. So the first things first, let's go ahead and put this canopy on. All right, so first thing I want to do with this plane is I want to figure out, do I have safe on? Put it upside down. It's going to try to find the fastest route to level, okay? So, rudder left, rudder right, aileron roll left, aileron roll right. Flaps are backwards, so I need to reverse the flap setting. So I'm going to click, go into servo setup. I'm going to go to travel, and then I'm going to move over to reverse, and I'm going to go to flaps, and I'm going to click. That is very bizarre to me that that needed to be flipped. Okay? I don't know why that needed to be flipped. Elevator up, elevator down. That's the correct direction. Everything feels good. Everything looks good. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to walk over to the monitor mode. And I'm just going to flip this switch. See that? Auxiliary 2 is changing with that. My guess is that Safe Select is already attached to a switch. Switch D in this case is what I was using, but I didn't see a dance, so we're going to test this. Safe is on. No change. Switch A, no change. Okay. So we also have another channel we could use, which is a knob. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually power down everything, and then I'm going to power it back up. That's a trick that sometimes works on these models, and sometimes it doesn't. You see what I'm dealing with here, camera crew? Let's show the people at home. I'm having a really hard time lifting this, because with the wing off, it's quite easy. With the wing on, it's very hard to get a hold of it.
Yeah.
So we have done this trick a million times in one. It's about the easiest thing you can do. I usually take a piece of tape, about 3 times longer than you think it need it. And then I stick the piece of tape just like this. Try to get it straight. If you have a painted surface, don't fix your tape, just let it be out of square. All right, and then you can just fold this over, just like so. And it works super easy, and it's quite effective. Okay, because now when I need to get in there, I've got something to pull on, okay?
Yeah, way better.
That's a pretty strong hatch. Like, it's kind of hard to get off of there without. And that takes 1 second.
Yeah.
It might buzz a little bit. If it buzzes, you can trim it so that it stops buzzing. Obviously, notice the lights on the wingtips, beautiful.
Yeah, the lights
super
are
bright,
bright.
Scale lighting. I
lights
like
on
the way the
front.
front lights look.
Yeah. Very cool.
Okay, so why is Safe Select not assigning? I'm going to tell you why. Because I haven't power cycled everything. That's what I'm going to do right now. Full power cycle. We're going to pretend like it's a brand new model. Powering it on right now. Wait for the RF light to come on. Now I'm going to plug in the battery. By the way, that's got an IC3 connector, which is pretty sweet. So it's super easy to plug in, and you get the full telemetry. Okay? So now, down and in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It's changing.
Yep.
So you guys saw the dance at the end. So Safe is currently on. And Safe is off. Okay, so now the next step is we need to flip this direction of the switch. So we're going to click, go to servo setup, click, and then scroll over to reverse. That's gear. So now gear is backward. Okay, perfect. So now safe is off, safe would be on. Listen. It just gets into a spot where it's between steps. All right, so now that we have safe select assigned, this manual does not cover setting up reverse thrust. I am going to cover it right now. We already figured out how to do it, and we did it. And I'm gonna tell you a couple of the different landmines you're about to step on. First things first, be careful. You can cut yourself bad doing this if you're not right and you do it wrong and you get your hand in here, okay? So first of all, make sure your throttle hold is working. It is working on my plane, okay? You can use the throttle hold while you're doing most of this process, okay? Throttle hold is now off. I'm gonna just test it. The manual is moving. You see it? Okay. That's about 15% throttle.
That's crazy.
Throttle hold is on and it works regardless of the condition of the switch. See? That's important. Verify that, okay? Throttle hold is off. That's the correct direction. Throttle hold is back on. I need to switch the direction of my A switch. Remember how earlier we did an assignment to auxiliary 2? Throttle hold is on. I want to switch the direction, okay? Travel, reverse, gear. Wait, auxiliary 2, sorry. Not the gear switch, just the A switch, right? I was trying to switch the wrong thing, okay? So now we're gonna verify everything. First of all, throttle hold is on, tested. Show the people over there. Well, there is. There's a lanyard there. Okay, very powerful. Throttle holds on. Now when the switch is in the normal condition, watch the manual. Okay, so it's moving. You don't have to trust me, but there's now braking too. Okay, that means it's gonna stop the motor. All right, now let's talk about why that is. Throttle hold is on, everything's tested, we're totally safe. There is 2 ways to go about doing this. One, you can either buy a programmer and program the ESC, that would be ridiculous. Or you can just scroll all the way over here into the AVN programming. So from regular flight mode, scroll over like you're gonna go to telemetry, which you have tons of telemetry data on this stuff, guys. Look, individual cell counts, all this. Timers are just a waste of time at this point. You know, you can just fly until you have a low voltage. And you're like, oh, AVN Prog, how do I do that? Low throttle, throttle hold, up elevator, left aileron. Now I'm just gonna demonstrate this isn't gonna work, okay? That would say step 2 as soon as it worked. Why is it not working, Brian? What's wrong? I got a broken one, I'm sending this back.
I know why.
Because you have to unplug the battery and do it within the first 30 seconds of operation. Battery's unplugged, battery's plugged in. Let it initiate as you would always. Okay, throttle holds on, down and over. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now to the right. 2, 3, 4. Okay, now we're in the menu. See how this up makes that move, the arrow? And if you want to change that from fixed wing, you just hit left or right. See how it's changing? Fixed wing. Brake type is reverse. You want it to be reverse. Normally the brake would be disabled by default. You have to set it to reverse, okay? Brake force. Cutoff type. LiPo cells auto-calculated. Cutoff voltage 3.04, presumably per volt. See how that changes? 3.2, 3.0. And you can go fast too. So BEC voltage, I would not recommend changing that because this is designed to run on a 6-volt circuit. BECs can be set to multiple different sizes. And in this case, 6 is good. 5.5 is another random size that they use a lot. Startup time is normal. Timing is 15, I guess.
Did you change that?
I don't know. Was it auto before?
What's one back?
5? Yeah, it was 15 before. Okay. And then the motor rotate is clockwise. So you, instead of reversing switch A, you could change that from clockwise to counterclockwise, okay? So to do that, you just, see? Cool. Active forward, I don't know what that is. Then the governor gain. Then the AR time, the arm time, I think. Then the restart accelerometer, I'm sure. And then thrust reverse, channel 7. Okay, then exit with save. And this is where you just give it a right and it does. Okay, you'll notice the ESC arm and you're working just like you were before. Now, hold on. Before you start asking questions, we gotta test this.
Okay.
Throttle hold is on, tested. Reverse, tested. Safety first. Now, throttle holds off. Reverse, reverse, reverse. Now I'm going forward. Throttle holds on. So you can easily replicate that, but you have to do all the steps right. If it doesn't work when you're trying to go into the avian setup, you need to unplug your battery and plug it back in and try again. It will work the second time.
And you also need to make sure you're not in safe and that you don't have some weird dual rates or expo because you have to have 100%
stick positions.
output on your stick position.
So the stick positions are what I was concerned about because my throttle hold actually makes this minus 130. Mm-hmm. That's acceptable. Low throttle means 0, you know, like 0%, okay? If you had this mix so that your throttle was engaged at like 90, it's minus 90 versus minus 100, right? That would be weird, but some guys do that on like gas engines and things like this. This is obviously not a gas engine. Also, another thing you need to be aware of is that this does have braking, but you can change the level of braking if you want. I'm not going to. I'm just going to set it up this way. Fifthly, I love the concept of reverse thrust. I hate the idea that it wasn't set up. That was pretty annoying. I love that I was forced to learn to do it because now I've shared it with you and you can do it too. Remember, you can do reverse thrust on a lot of planes. The cool thing is I consumed a channel to operate the thrust reverse, but keep in mind, if you want to have thrust reverse active, for instance, when flaps are active, then you could do that too. That'd be a horrible idea, by the way. I'm just saying you can tie it with another channel, but you can only do 7 or 8, I believe, on that menu. Actually, I never tested it. You might be able to do a lower channel, but just keep in mind there are some limitations if safe is operating. And what was the other thing? If you have had this on long enough that it won't now recognize the input. Mm-hmm. Because obviously you don't want that input during flight to like go into the programming on the ESC. So that being said, very cool. That is not forward programming, guys. That is a text something or another mumbo jumbo that comes through the telemetry to give us feedback on the screen. It's the same setup on an IX12, IX20. It's the same setup on an NX6 or an NX10. Did I miss anything?
And a DX.
Oh, the DX lineup. Same thing.
Gen 2 and it's updated.
That's right.
You can still do it.
That's right. So the cool thing is, throttle holds on. We've tested it many, many times. The cool thing is, now, you're gonna wanna move, cat. Now, We can taxi backward, or forward, or backward. Throttle holds on. Very cool. Just to be clear, the Draco had this feature. The Draco is 10 pounds. This is not 10 pounds.
That was
Okay.
really efficient.
So the reason I'm telling you this is because this thing is going to be extraordinary in the air. Now, I don't want to name it the poor man's Draco because I feel like that is not doing any justice to the Turbo Timber Evo. But let's call it what it is. The poor man's Timber. Excuse me, the poor man's Draco. And to be honest with you, I'm actually quite excited to fly it. The other thing too is there will be slightly less heart attacks associated with flying this plane and then having a less than stellar landing. Because the Draco is big and intimidating, even for a skilled pilot. It's not hard to fly, it's just intimidating because you know there's a lot of very expensive stuff on it. I mean, it's a $600 plane, and this is not a $600 plane. It's less than half that. Also, the batteries are cheaper. Also, you could technically use a cheaper charger. Also, you technically could use a cheaper transmitter, but you get all the fun with the exception of the switchable lights in flight, and of course the tremendous beauty and splendor of the Draco. Am I gushing?
But the Draco's not a second plane.
That's true. And by the way, the Draco wing is this long.
Yeah.
It's a 2-meter plane. So remember, a 2-meter plane is not twice the size of this. Excuse me, a 2-meter plane is not another half meter. It is. But it means that the whole plane is like doubly as big as this. It's a lot more plane. Okay, keep that in mind when you're making your decisions. Because I know a lot of you are thinking that. I also want you guys to understand something. This is not another Timber. It is replacing the Turbo Timber. So it's not like it's a new one in the lineup and oh boy, poor us, we have another Timber to deal with. Well, first of all, the Timber's sweet, okay? So you shouldn't complain about it. It's awesome, okay? Secondly, I like the paint job better on this. I think it looks a little bit more like a real scale aircraft as opposed to like a cartoony, like E-flite style. I'm a sucker for scale planes, always have been. Obviously, you're not going to get a scale pilot in here because there are no windows. That's one drawback compared to the Draco. It's not quite as beautiful, but look at these landing gear. I mean, it's just, they work really good and they're also quite light. So this thing will do grass, it'll do landing strips, geotextile fabric, it'll do concrete, it'll do pavement, it'll do short takeoff and landing. I could easily take it off in the living room. I just wouldn't have anywhere to fly, so we're not gonna do that. Any other thoughts?
I'm excited. I think it's cool.
I think it is too.
It looks really nice.
You guys need to just stop watching right now because the video's over. Check the link, go get one for yourself. You'll be helping to support us. You know what we didn't do? We didn't check the CG.
We did not.
Forget about that. Keep watching the video.
Hold on, don't buy it yet.
Don't buy it yet. Wait until we check the CG. I mean, that could really ruin your plan.
Follow the link, open your Horizon tab.
Get ready. Okay, so 55 to 65.
65. Yeah.
Okay, so 55 to 65. 55, good enough. 55 to 65, and I'm going to use a black marker to mark the bottom. Throttle holds on. Now this is from the leading edge of the wing, and the wing dips in here, okay? So let's look at the manual if it says right here or right here.
Okay.
Because this is kind of one of those trickier moments. This build did not go very smooth, did it?
It did not.
Compared to many builds from
Here it is.
Oh, that's ambiguous as you can get.
From the leading edge of the wing at the fuse.
Okay, so from the leading edge at the fuse.
Without slats installed.
So listen, they mean from here, not from here, I think. But let's just be honest, it's not going to make that big a difference. Let's just do it. Okay, so we're gonna make a dot here. Boom. There's a dot. And I'm just gonna bring it into about the same spot. Boom. The foam is different on this. Okay, so then the 65, right? Because it's 60 plus 60 plus or minus. Man, that range is so small.
That is pretty small. Close to our timber.
Okay. Now I'm going to darken the hole. So we can see it. And not have to always be confused about where to stick it, our fingers. We're going to test this right now with the 3200. Or was that 3300? 3200 4S.
Gen
30C Gen 1.
Yep.
If we had a Gen 2, we would test it with that, but we don't. Right between the two holes, you just want to just tickle it like that. That looks pretty good. Okay, so now that we've done that, the CG works out. Let's talk about inside of here. Definitely, you got to do something like that. That is really actually necessary.
Tape for sure.
I think we literally have that battery in the perfect spot.
Yeah, that looked good.
So basically, this is going to say like 3300.
Or 32.
3200. Thank you. Milliamp hour. 4S. All right, cool. There we go. And then the leads go either way. It doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys,
Now,
there you have it.
now
Now you can check the link in the video description. Go ahead and get one ordered. This thing is going to be available shortly. I think you're going to have to wait until like, is that mid-July?
Yeah, I think it was.
Don't shoot the messenger,
Sorry.
please. Please, we're sorry. But here's the thing. The other timbers are out. The other 1.5 meter turbo timber is gone right now. So we want you to know that this is coming. It's coming. Relax. In the meantime, buy a Draco. They're probably out of stock by now too. Oh man, the Horizon's really ticked off now. But hey, seriously though, this plane is awesome. If you don't already have one, if you haven't ever experienced it, the turbo timber is very good. I mean, all the timbers are good in their own right. But I am less about 3D flying and more about the scale stall performance, and being able to thrust reverse is going to open up a whole new world of like cool possibilities, but it still looks cool. And I love that. Guys, we are so freaking close to 100,000 subscribers that it's killing me. We are gonna pause and check right now. All 9 of you, hurry up. It's like almost 1 a.m. What am I supposed to do? Stay up all night just so I can film this flipping from 99,991 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 to 9. That's a lot of numbers still, no matter how you slice it. So 100,000 is right around the corner. And we owe you guys a debt of gratitude, and for which we will pay you by making at least one more Dynam video. Sorry. We aren't supposed to say things like that on our Horizon video. But anyway, yeah, we'll do that too, just for, you know, good outtakes. But anyway, yeah, this plane was, it was way harder than I thought to put together because of a number of little minor issues. You probably won't experience them because I think it was probably an early release issue where we shifted the fuse, which knocked out the exhaust tubes, exhaust pipes, whatever you want to call those outlets for the turbo. And we also ran into some issues with one screw. The hole was a little bit cross-threaded, but we were able to resolve it with a, you know, just an extra pair of nuts. You know, and what else? We also had to set up the thrust reverser, which honestly, I'm actually really glad now because we know how to do it, which is super cool. And we also know that you do have to use a channel for that. So that brings me full circle to getting the NX8. Don't get the NX6, even though it's awesome and it is 7 channels. Get the NX8. Technically, I could have done everything we did on this plane on the NX6. But I'm just telling you, there's other things coming right around the pike that you're gonna want. And for 40 bucks extra, it's just like, I mean, if you're spending that kind of cash, you know, just get the NX. Just get this one. You'll be happier. And by the way, it comes with more goodies. If I recall, did this one come with? Yeah, this one came with a lanyard.
Yep.
Just for me alone, I mean, I would never spend $40 on this, but the thing is, that's why I would spend $40 to get the extra channel, because then you get something like this. And I do use a lanyard. So for me, if I get a lanyard with one and I don't with the next, guess what? Then it comes off of another one to go to the new one. And so then it's waste. Also, I am running the bigger pack in here. So instead of just running the stock pack, I'm running the 6,000 milliamp hour pack. This is the SPMB 6000. So it's bigger. The one that comes in here is a 2000. So instead of 3 of those cells, it's just 1 cell, I believe is the way that works. So it makes an appreciable difference. If you don't do that, you guys are gonna be charging this thing all the time. Just be aware. It is really easy, and yes, you can sit in your truck and charge it. Because you, well, truck or car, or whatever it is you drive. I mean, bicycle with a battery, I don't know. There's a mini USB, or excuse me, a micro USB. That is a USB, that's not a USB-C, it's a USB, I believe it's still a micro, yes, a USB micro. So we charge this once every couple of weeks. Been very happy with the NX8. We've been very happy now that we know how to get the Avian ESC to be programmed and reprogrammed. I think I'm speaking in my future crystal ball here. I'm thinking this thing is gonna be awesome. It's gonna fly, it's gonna do some cool things that I don't normally get to do with planes, but I also feel very comfortable with the platform of the Timber. So I think it's gonna make it a smooth transition. And guys, the next smooth transition should be you following the link to buy your very own right now, or pre-ordering it, or whatever it is you're doing. We appreciate you. Come back for more.